right. And we're going soon. And we're live. Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us, myself and LiteratureDevil, for another episode of Critiquing the Critics. And once again, the same topic as The Last Jedi. I don't know why this keeps popping up. There seems to be a need to keep defending this title. I guess it's because the Rise of Skywalker just came out, and in comparison, everyone's like, "Oh well, the last movie wasn't so bad." And I
I think
mean,
this is like 50% of what makes The Last Jedi so frustrating is that all these people come to the defense so eagerly, and it's not even. Oh, I think it's pretty good because of these reasons. It's because it's the defense is always you're a bigot and all these other movies are terrible. Therefore, The Last Jedi is good. It's not like an earnest defense. It's always an aggressive, hostile character assassination of a defense.
interesting. Yeah, no, it's kind of hard to figure out the platitudes they want to speak first, and then the actual defense has nothing to do with the content of the video. It's always their subjective analysis or their uh, outside the box thinking. That's like, listen, what were you critiquing when you're looking at this thing? What makes this thing good? And they never actually establish what is good. And if it is, it's always some subjective opinion. And to them,
Well, they
that's
usually
fine.
like to. They usually like to. One of the usual things they like to do is destroy any sense of objectivity. So they go, there's no such thing as objectivity. Everything is subjective, and nothing. They go to the realm of nothing really matters because they can't really defend the Last Jedi. It seems because we've done this so many times. The pattern I've seen is that they can't really defend the Last Jedi anymore unless they get rid of the objective standards.
Yeah,
What do you think of that?
it's all feeling and emotion and your interpretation. Everything else has no value, which is just, I mean, come on. There has to be some standard of looking at a movie or listening to a movie and going, hey, that shot could have been done better. Where'd you get that opinion? Well, my eyeballs couldn't see anything because it was too dark.
Therefore, it's
So
bad.
it's not my opinion. I just couldn't see anything. It's not my vision is bad. It's that the lighting in the film was bad. Like these very obvious objective observations you make that come to objective conclusions that, hey, maybe the lighting guy should have fixed this, or maybe the director should have paid more attention, or done more screenings, or whatever. There's all kinds of tests and stress tests and quality assurance tests a producer can make on a product. And if they don't do it, well, there's the problem. So today we have a video from a group or YouTube, I believe it's a group of people on YouTube called the Blue Bantha Milk Co. So already they're going to be fanboys of Star Wars. That's totally fine. Totally cool. We love listening to fanboys of all shapes and sizes. But this one is obviously pro Ryan Johnson. The Last Jedi is awesome. Blah blah blah. So
I've not seen this video yet, but according to that name, it just sounds like it almost might be a parody. I'm not really sure.
if it's a parody, they're doing a very good job. The two gentlemen
All
I
right.
saw on their channel, they seem to be very pro Star Wars, and Star Wars can do no wrong sort of reaction.
Oh,
So I haven't seen their response to the Rise of Skywalker, but I think we should get started because this is going to take maybe an hour. I'd say an hour tops. Won't be too long. Yeah, we'll see. Here we go.
The Last Jedi came out in 2017, and I, for one, am sick of hearing complaints about it and having to defend it and arguing with people and essentially just ranting about why people are wrong to dislike it in the way that they do.
Yeah, okay, it's wrong to dislike The Last Jedi in the way they do, like for critiquing its performance or the score or the visuals or I don't know, maybe the whole story. All the nuances of storytelling. Yep, those are just horrible things to do when disliking a movie for whatever reason. Oh boy, so someone just gave me a super chat warning my audience not to buy the World War Z audiobook.
what was the audiobook?
That's I mean, do I have to warn anyone not to buy that? The only available versions are abridged but aren't marked as such. Okay.
I don't really like the guy who wrote World War Z that much. He kind of comes off as kind of arrogant, like a bad sort of arrogant. Oh, is Max Brooks something like that?
I can't
The guy who
recall.
wrote World War Z.
I was never intrigued by it.
But I mean, he's really obsessed with zombies, and I think he passes himself off as a zombie expert. That's like really strange. It's like someone who's really obsessed. It goes
Yeah,
who takes it a little too far,
it is.
and he seems like really arrogant about it.
It is certainly a thriller. I don't know exactly the timeline or the science fiction level. I'm not. I don't remember it very well. But yeah, not for everyone. So if you saw the
It's
yeah,
it is interesting though. It is interesting. I mean, it is a little interesting because it comes from it's not a Walking Dead sort of thing. It's not like a bunch of survivors trying to survive. It's a reporter going around interviewing survivors of a zombie apocalypse, and it's pretty interesting.
yeah. I'm again when every time I hear the term zombies or the undead or vampires, my eyes sort of like half glaze over. Like oh, so I'm sure there are very good authors out there that do use those genres or those topics of writing. But yeah, you have to understand when I was going through creative writing class, like I think I must have heard every subgenre of zombie horror. The hero is suddenly a zombie and now he's undead. Now they're dying. It's like ooh, it's too much. It's too much fantasy zombies in my creative writing class where we're supposed to be learning poetry and prose.
I
So
must have got lucky. I mean, I got a lot of usual stuff in my writing classes, but didn't have an overwhelming amount of zombies and vampires.
it's yeah, I know when you have an open class at college where anyone can join, and it's like they're just going to talk about like the one guy literally wrote his flavor of Diablo and put that in a book. We were like, whoa, it's I ran out of mana. I couldn't cast magic missile or whatever. Like, what the hell is
That,
this?
that's the signs of an amateur. I mean, they're not using amateur as as an insult, but that's usually that's what I did. Okay, that's what I did when I first started writing. You take things that you already know, put them in your own story, kind of this copy and paste sort of thing. I mean, Neil Gaiman talks about this all the time. Neil Gaiman went through that too, but where he kind of copies people, copies voices of other writers, and then after a while you kind of develop your own voice. So yeah, that is something that it's tradition for, but that's how you know. That's how you know that the writer that you're reading is kind of an amateurish writer who hasn't written a whole lot of stuff. Is they're clearly copying someone else.
And there's nothing wrong with that, especially in creative writing
Exactly.
when you don't know anything and you're just trying your best.
Yeah.
So that's great. It's when you actually, like in case of my class, that guy quit after his story was critiqued.
Mm.
So because we came down really hard on him because well, first off, his grammar was horrible,
Ooh,
and when he wrote
not good.
dialogue, he had like seven exclamation marks and all these other crazy diction that you shouldn't be using. So he sort
My
of took
favorite is my
yeah.
favorite one that these people sometimes use, amateur writers sometimes use is POV this guy, and then you start writing, or POV this character, and then they start writing like they tell you the point of view of the character you're writing from, and then he starts writing. That's one thing that a lot of people who don't write very much, or amateur writers in writing classes and everything
Right. And
tend to
and
do.
the beauty of that is that because you're in writing class, you aim to get better. And that's the point. You are going to go through this gauntlet of opinions.
Oh yeah,
And you could write any story. You could talk about zombies all you like. You could write your second and third story about zombies. No problem. But you're going to get better. That's the point. That's why you go to class. That's why
exactly.
people have to tear you down. That's why you have to respect criticism, even if it's horrible, bad criticism that has no bearing on your writing. You just like you take it. You're like, yeah, this is true. This is what's gonna happen.
I mean,
So
yeah, the criticism hurts. They will always do that because they're basically attacking something you made with all your heart and soul. But
exactly.
the thing is, you learn to accept it and to just take it. It's a necessary pain that you have to take
And
all the
once you
time.
get it for like the thousandth time, it's like, oh, okay. Like I know it's coming, but it's still gonna sting, but it's gonna be a critical. Hopefully, it'll be a critical response. Obviously, you don't suffer fools that say you're misogynist, whatever. But you listen to for every opinion. You say, okay, what's this person have to say? Give them his 5 cents. All right, I'll take that to heart. See if it has any merit. So in this case, we are still listening to this gentleman about getting tired about other people disliking the things he likes because they're
I'm getting
wrong.
tired of listening to all these defenses over and over and over again. It's like you don't understand. Just all these defenses are terrible. Like, they're just either having to destroy objectivity, just getting rid of objectivity as a concept entirely, and say, oh, everything's subjective, or it's tearing down the old stuff, like the original trilogy, tearing down Luke Skywalker, etc. It's just kind of those basic two camps. That's what you have. That's what you get when you interact with someone who is who's hostile, who is delivering a hostile defense of the Last Jedi.
But one more for the road can't hurt. His name is Sean. He talks about things. Sean talks about things.
I bet this is not his last word. Just betting it. All kinds of money. He's going to keep talking about Last Jedi next month or next week.
Before we begin, check out the links below for our Patreon and our TeePublic sites. You can get some of this sweet merch. Any support that you can give us is much appreciated.
I have no idea what these guys do, but I'm not discouraging this. I just find it kind of weird that he's a small timer. More power to him, of course, if he can get some sales for T-shirts. But it's kind of awkward. But cool.
Is this a new channel?
Yeah, it's fairly new.
Within like maybe a year or so?
I don't know the age. I just know it's really small. So I'm not discouraging this. I just find it kind of awkward. Because it's like you just all of a sudden you're selling a shirt within a minute of starting. So
and I mean that they named their entire channel after something that happens in The Last Jedi. So I'm pretty sure they're not going to stop talking about it.
Yeah, no, they have to defend something, and it can't be the Return of Skywalker. So it has to be something else, right? So, just got a super chat. Thank you, Mr. Punished Berserker. All right, just got here. I'm not surprised at all that a dude who looks like this is defending TLJ. Yes, this is exactly what's happening. Let me guess, he hates Return of Skywalker because it ruined TLJ's themes. It's not even that complicated. I wish it were. But we'll see. I mean, I watched this the first time. I thought, ooh, this is a hot take without any level of thought put into it. But again, we've seen better responses, so we'll give him his due.
That sounds fantastic.
Will allow us to keep making content. So, on with the show. Come on! There are two major complaints about The Last Jedi that particularly get under my skin and wind me up. The first one is when people say the movie is objectively bad. And really, you can't say that something like a movie, which is essentially a subjective art form, is objective.
Okay. I said I never watched this video before. That was true. But I think did I just call it? I said he's either going to tear down the original stuff or he's going to get rid of the idea of objectivity at all. And 1 minute and 5 seconds in, already done that.
Yeah.
Already. That's his first major attack point. Get rid of objectivity.
Yeah. Well, apparently he defines a film as something being a subjective art form, which is impossible.
No, it's not. It isn't though. You can have a bad film that no one likes because it's terrible. I mean, some people might like it for strange reasons, but it's still going to be bad. People can like bad things. People like McDonald's. Just because it's good, because it's bad doesn't mean people aren't going to like it, but it's still bad.
Yeah, we always bring up the example of The Room, that it's so bad it's good, and
yeah, something like that.
It had a fine production value for what it was trying to be, which was a drama. Well, it was intended to be a drama, but because of the performance, because of the dialogue, because of the delivery by Mr. Wiseau and company, it came across as an amateur job done so poorly that it was entertaining. Which is interesting because there's a certain level of humor where someone's trying to be funny, and you end up laughing at them, and the performance then it no longer becomes a joke about them. It becomes a joke about their performance because it's so bad, and because it was taken serious, or they intended it to be serious. It's like watching an amateur play at school, a stage play like Romeo and Juliet, but they don't have any props. They don't have any sets. They don't have any costumes. They're trying to do this dramatic work. They have the music playing. It's scary in the background, but it's like it's not believable. So you sit there and you go, oh, that's so cute. There's my son up on stage, or it's entertaining for the parents, but for everyone else who's like, oh, Bob, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Parents will like these school plays, but they are usually objectively terrible.
Exactly, because they're not professionals. They don't know what they're doing. They've never done this before. They may not even have a drama department in their schools.
They're just doing it because it's something to do. People like it. It helps the kids find out their it helps them discover their talents. Discover maybe they like acting. Maybe they like performing. It helps them express themselves, and it gives the parents some very fond memories.
Yeah, it's like the first time a comedian goes on stage, he's going to bomb. There's almost no question about that. They're going to do very not well.
Yeah,
So
people say comedy is subjective, but there are good comics out there. There are people that tell good jokes, and some people might find them funny. Some people might not find them funny. But there's a reason why some comedians rise to the top. It's because they are objectively better comedians than other people.
and there's all kinds of different metrics for that, whether it's more than just enthusiasm, it's insight into the delivery of their lines or the actual lines or how they read a room, or maybe they've tried the same joke in 100 different places and they have a probability, well, in Nebraska it didn't win, but in Florida it worked, and I'm going to try it in Tennessee. Like they read the room, they got this vibe with people. So there's all sorts of variables that are really hard to measure to figure out whether a joke is going to work. So
Exactly. By the way, before we move on, the Disaster Artist, the movie they made about Tommy Wiseau and everything, I really like the movie. I recommend that movie. You might not, some people, not. I'm pretty sure not everyone will like that movie, but I personally would recommend it. So that since we talked about The Room,
yeah,
it's a
I
pretty good
know
movie.
because when it was filmed in TIFF a few years ago, or showcased rather at TIFF a few years ago, the response was, if you saw The Room and liked it, you are going to totally love The Disaster Artist because you know what the thing is and you know the
Mhm.
lines and you know the scenarios, but you don't know exactly the backstory. So if you don't know the backstory, you kind of be like, what the hell is this movie all about? So watch the Room first and then watch
Yeah,
The Disaster Artist.
yeah. Watch The Room first, and then watch The Disaster Artist. They go very well together.
And if you still don't believe, after all that time, that objective observations and conclusions are not met after watching those films, I don't think we can help you. I don't think there's no other way to explain how this works.
Just enjoy products, get excited about products, and then get excited about next products. Don't ask questions.
Bad. And we're using objective here in the sense of like an idea, or not even an idea, but like it's a fact.
Yeah, that's what objective observations are. They are facts, sir. And then they come to objective conclusions after analysis of the facts. Like, hey, why are these bombers in The Last Jedi moving so slowly? Hey, why can't they defend themselves with 6 gun turrets? Hey, how come they die instantly with one shot and blow up others around them, etc., etc. So, oh, another from Mr. Punished Berserker again. Thank you, sir. Protagonist spends runtime taking a dump. Okay. Critic, that was objectively a worthless movie. This douche, get rid of objectivity. Oh, no. Themes. Yeah, well, I don't even remember if this guy talks about themes, but
I really hope not.
it's such a strange.
Hope he doesn't.
Yeah, because whenever they talk about themes, they don't define them. And if you're going to have a good argument, like objectivity does not exist, you got to define what objectivity means, and you have to prove it. And you have to showcase that with, I don't know, different examples. Really helps your believability when you have examples.
And so far, every time people have mentioned themes in the defense of The Last Jedi, it usually has been that theme. The word theme is code for what I personally liked about the movie, and the parts I personally liked about the movie that weren't actually in the movie.
And it's always some conflict that they're not sure whether it's a major theme or a minor theme or just a scenario that there's someone in conflict with. It's just like, let's just bring something up and call it a theme. And you're like, okay, sure. And then we have the extravagant version of that, which is Wit and Folly, where they see giraffes in in the shape of a lamp or something. Whoa, look at that! It's a giraffe. It's really an animal, and they're talking about sex, but it's in the wild. And it's like, whoa, okay, slow down there.
It's like 10 rooms in one scene. It's ridiculous.
It's fascinating to hear these people meander on a point that was never the intention or was actually in the content of the scene. So
Yeah, it's a strange thing about all these defenses of Last Jedi. The people who mention themes, it's usually this is great because it represents this, or this scene is awesome and perfect and beautiful because it represents this, not because it has anything to do with the plot. It's just we want things that this movie is great because it represents things in a metaphysical sense. I mean,
which is
outside the movie.
which is bizarre. Like I could probably take one of my teachers' outlooks and say, you know what, maybe The Last Jedi could have amazing characterization of X character, and that's why you could enjoy a movie like The Last Jedi. Like look at Kylo Ren. What kind of characterization does he have when he tries to pick up Darth Vader's lightsaber? Like does he still want it? Is he going to give it away? Does he fight over it? Is he going to change his mind? Like all these things that might be going through his head could be an element of the video. Just Kylo Ren's characterization alone could be worth watching and appreciating. But that's a very, very limited perspective that these people, same with themes, they only look at the themes, they only look at the character or the romance or whatever, this one element, which is cool. You can do that. You can do a feminist view. You can do a masculine view. You can do all sorts of views and appreciate something like The Room for what it's worth. But you cannot say that as a whole. And that's kind of the point of using a lens like a romantic lens or a classical lens and say, yes, this element is done well, or a musical lens, yes, the music works perfectly, etc., etc. So we're not saying The Last Jedi is complete garbage. There was obviously a lot of artistic work in there and objectively good artistic work with John Williams' score, the sound design, the crazy amounts of money they spent on props.
The effects are really good.
They are fantastic. It's just the
Phasma
story
looks really
elements.
shiny.
Yeah, no, it's just the story elements that always bring it down. So
Everything. I think. I don't know if anyone has heard of SF Debris, but he's I think he made his name critiquing Star Trek episodes. This is how I found him. But the thing about SF Debris is that he was critiquing this one episode. I think it was a Voyager episode where Harry Kim falls in love with this alien, and he gets a disease. I think it's called The Disease, in fact. And he actually comments on this sort of phenomenon where it's a terrible episode, but he comments on how everything else was on point, like all the cinematography, the music, the camera work, everything else was on point about the episode, and he kind of laments about how it must feel to be the people in charge of all the music, the effects, the camera work and all that stuff, and doing your job exceptionally well, but then having all that exceptional work being attached to an overall terrible episode or movie or what have you, whatever the case may be. But that's essentially Last Jedi. There's so many things that were good about the Last Jedi on the outside, like all the effects and the uniforms, all the stuff outside of it. It's just overall the plot and the writing and the characterizations, that was all terrible. So we had a lot of things that were actually good about the movie, the looks and the effects and so on, but it's all attached to something that was overall awful.
okay, I think we can continue from there.
This is not about opinions or feelings. This is about facts, and you can't really have that with art.
Okay, now if there's a fact, let's say I look at a sculpture. It's a Baroque sculpture. It's a representational sculpture of a man or a woman, right? And I can objectively look at this figure and say, okay, this arm is out of proportion, or this eyebrow is too big, or whatever. These are objects in space. The same way a movie is an object in space. It has sound, it has light. We can see it. There are very objective facts we can observe from there. And if we can observe a fact that's, the function of a spaceship or the function of a lightsaber, and we know how these things work because we have watched the movies or other movies like it, and we see lightsabers in previous times, or we see the Force being used, or we see droids working, we can say, hey, this doesn't look the same. What's up with that? So if that is the case, the story must then present another solution as to why that is, or if it doesn't, it's a bad piece of lore. So those are objective facts. The function of the spaceships, the function of lightsabers, the function of the Force, etc., etc.
Art and criticism of art is, by definition, subjective.
Okay. I think analysis is subjective because I'm a different person than this gentleman and he thinks differently. That's fine. But if you're starting from objective facts, which he says is impossible, which we know, I mean, I could look at the wall and I could say that's objectively a wall. I mean, it's not my opinion; it's the wall. It's literally a wall. I can then extrapolate from that many things: the color, the shape, the size, the weight, all objective facts. So I see no reason why I cannot compare this wall to other walls and go, well, this wall is light and cheap and easy to make. It worked with the price of the house compared to this other wall, which is made of stone and concrete and steel, which is way more expensive, but it's also way more durable. It does all the things the other wall does, but better, or some things worse. So we could have all sorts of criteria for observing things and coming to conclusions purely on objective facts. And we can do the same
Right.
thing with any object with light and sound, like a movie.
It's all based on opinions and particular writers' takes and feelings and their experiences and all that kind of thing.
And again, opinions can be based on objective facts. So,
I mean, if he's again, he's saying that all things are subjective in the defense of the Last Jedi, which is this is part of the course. But the thing is, there are things like Freytag's triangle, for example. These things exist. These are structures that are taught in creative writing classes, and they're taught for a reason because they work. This is how you structure a story, or one way. I mean, there's plenty of other ways, but Freytag's triangle is probably one of the most recognizable. But so you have, your inciting incident, you have your climax, you have your falling action, all that stuff. And there's a reason why that works as a structure, because it objectively works as a structure. And it's not the only one. It's not the only schematic for a story, but it works. It works objectively. It works. It is a way for you to create a story from beginning to end that most people would probably like and follow and feel some sort of a sense of value in, especially if it's written well. If it's not written well, then it doesn't matter what you use. But if it's written well, a structure like Freytag's triangle will help you out. And that's where you get your objectivity from. And if there were no objectivity, if everything was just subjective universally, then these sort of structures like Freytag's triangle wouldn't really exist.
the beautiful thing about Freytag's triangle is its simplicity is that there's one climax, there's one dramatic point in the story where everything comes to a point. And with The Last Jedi, I think there's 2 or 3 climaxes. There's the
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
and you think, oh, okay, that's going to be even more dramatic, even more exciting, etc. It's like, no, it worsens the story.
It cheapens it. It cheapens it. Yeah.
And you see that with the Holdo maneuver. You're like, oh, this is a thing now. Okay, looked amazing, amazing CGI. Completely ruins the lore of the story.
Yeah, damages the continuity, the lore, but it looked really cool. But if that take away, maybe if that even if that were the very first Star Wars movie and it's establishing lore, that the Holdo maneuver, the instance that happens, should have been the one and only climax of the movie. That's a climactic moment in the film, but it's just another event.
Which just happens to be big and explosive and fantastical. And you're like, oh.
Exactly.
And they decided to withhold the sound in space effect, which they've kept throughout the series for whatever reason. And oh yeah, it makes you pay attention. Wow, look at the visuals. Okay, and then we learn in the Rise of Skywalker. Oh yeah, this is it's almost impossible to pull off. Like, oh really?
1 in a million shot. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Just to make Holdo even better.
So that's probably one of the reasons why they fall back to The Last Jedi to defend it, because Rise of Skywalker screwed it up.
So if we were to say that The Last Jedi was objectively anything, we'd have to look at the facts.
That's true. That is exactly what you do when we look at an objective analysis of anything. We look at the facts. That's exactly true. Okay, we have another. I just ran right through a whole bunch of super chats. Thanks, guys. One of them was blank, and the other one was someone being angry at Kappa. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to comment on that. But,
taking away comments.
yeah, I know. I have no control over this. So Punished Berserker, TLJ has the theme of women being bad drivers. Ooh, I don't know. I think Rose is a pretty amazing driver. She managed to not only accelerate, but make a left-hand turn, get in front of Finn somehow, bash into him, and they both survived. Of course, she fainted, but that's amazing.
Unless you mean drivers of rebellion or being in command, because apparently everyone in any position of power in the Resistance is a woman, and the Resistance, according to The Last Jedi, is being driven to the ground. So if you mean that, then yeah, maybe.
Well, aren't you clever, sir? Okay.
And the facts are, it got this Rotten Tomatoes score.
Okay, this is not a fact of the movie, sir. This is
no.
very common argument.
This guy's checking off boxes of every single defense of The Last Jedi. Okay, so we have it made a lot of money defense. We have it got a high score on Rotten Tomatoes defense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the argument ad populum, apparently he's never either taken a philosophy course in his life or written an essay, because the first thing you learn about arguments is that, well, just because 10 people out of whatever liked it doesn't mean everyone likes it, or that's an objective reason for it being good. And we have another super chat. What is going on, guys? We're trying to have a conversation here. Jesus, stop with the money. Hey, Dennis Marquez. TLJ is just like, oh, wow, Dragon Age Inquisition. It is beautifully crafted. The scenery is beautiful. The combat is good. But the story, the dialogue, and the plot is bad. Sir, you have been listening to my videos, or that is a feeling I share. There are many, many things wrong with Dragon Age Inquisition. And sadly, that is the state of BioWare these days. That was the first... actually, no, that was the second. I'm trying to remember the chronology of the last 3 games that came out. I think it was Inquisition, then Anthem. Sorry, Inquisition, then Andromeda, then Anthem. All of them really poorly done stories and very poorly put together productions of video games.
I'm recently going through the Dragon Age saga.
Yes, you are. You talked about that just before the stream. If you guys don't know, this is the first time Mr. LiteratureDevil has been playing the Dragon Age series, and he just finished Dragon Age Origins. Was it last night?
Last night with Terran Logain surviving, and Alistair, I guess, running away. After I did all that stuff, after I gave him Duncan's shield and all that stuff. So, I mean, he just runs away. After all the stuff I did for him, I just said, well, let's keep Terran Logain around, because he's a brilliant, once-in-a-generation strategist who, and never mind. But let's go on about that. I was like, wow, Alistair, seriously? But yeah, I'm just going to the entire Dragon Age saga recently, and because I wanted to go through all the games, is because I remember the first one was supposed to be really good.
Yes, I would say that is the crowning achievement in the Dragon Age trilogy. There's going to be a 4th one, I assume. So, but yeah, it's a great game, and it's a lot slower than the other games, that's for sure. So you're going to appreciate a lot more choices, and beautiful music, beautiful music, beautiful character actions, voice. I think the choices really resonate with me even after all this time. So, do not let him play DA2 and DAI. Dennis, I know, he's going to do it.
Those are the only other 2 games in the series. So it's all downhill, I guess.
It is downhill, and it's very similar to The Last Jedi in that the second series, you look at it like it's retarded, and then you play the third one and you're like, oh, you know what? The second one wasn't that bad. It was okay. That's some good dialogue. I have to admit, the dialogue in Dragon Age 2 is equally amazing and retarded at the same time. So it is entertaining for that cringy sort of, Meryl did what now? Okay, that's fine. Anyway, he's giving us an argument ad populum, as if this means something.
It's one of their favorites. That destroying objectivity, like this disregarding any sense of objectivity and objectivism, and then going towards, it made a lot of money and it got a high score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
he's going by the numbers. This is a by the numbers defense of The Last Jedi.
It's outside the text of the primary source. So it's like, hey, you know what? This critic said it was good. It's like, so what?
Well, it's bad. He just did an argument about how everyone's critique of the movie is subjective, and then he goes to this trying to prove that it's actually good.
Yeah, it's the I like to call the Michael Bay argument. It's like, well, everyone watches Michael Bay movies; they must be good, right?
Yeah, they're not. They're just really entertaining. If you know, they're good enough where you can switch your brain off and just enjoy a little nugget of time with explosions and whatever else Michael Bay puts in his movies. I don't know what else does he put in his movies. I just know I see it's like 2 hours of explosions and that's it.
I honestly have not seen a Transformer movie in a while, so I can't say. But there are some attractive men and women, so Mark Wahlberg, etc. So
Metacritic score, and off a budget of around $200 million, it made this box office.
yeah, but it's all subjective, sir. What's your point? Like he's saying, yeah, it's all subjective, but it made a lot of money. You're like, yeah,
Yeah, so it made a lot of money. So what? Didn't Solo come in right after this, and then people just hated Solo?
yeah, pretty
It
much.
just
Yeah.
people the consumer lost faith after the Last Jedi. Everyone searched the Last Jedi. Last Jedi made a lot of money, but then consumer confidence in the Star Wars brand tanked after the Last Jedi. It tanked.
It's a mixed bag. Solo is entertaining, at least.
Like I always say, Solo is my favorite of the Disney Star Wars because it has Woody Harrelson in it. That's the only reason.
The Woody Harrelson defense.
Yeah, the Woody Harrelson defense.
Isn't he in a zombie movie recently?
Zombieland. He was in the first one, and they recently came out with the second one.
Okay, because I was like, wait a second, this guy gets around. Okay, must be doing something.
He's
like
everywhere.
Hollywood. Yeah.
I don't know how he gets everywhere, but he's everywhere somehow.
He's like the Nick Cage. He's gonna be doing everything soon.
So, realistically, if we were going to say it was objectively anything, we'd have to say it is objectively good.
Okay, so here we go with this ridiculous statement. If it's objectively anything, it's objectively good because it made lots of money.
It's not objectively good. It's objectively successful. It made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was successful.
You can't associate quality with the amount of money something made. That's like saying, "Hey, I got a toothpick. You want it for $1 million?" And some rich prick's like, "Sure, I'm a billionaire. What do I care, kid?" Oh wow, I just sold a toothpick.
Didn't he have a banana that's taped to something? Like someone taped a banana to something, and someone bought that for an outrageous amount of money. That's not good art.
Yes,
but it was a successful piece of art.
There is all kinds of really bad modern art. I wouldn't say bad. I just really questionable modern
kind
art.
of an oxymoron. Isn't that redundant? Like
Yeah.
bad modern art.
Bad.
Show me some good modern art.
Yeah, it's funny. So, and this is usually by the right of a government body. They say they want to buy some art for their government installation or whatever, and they spend like 12 million on like 3 colors of lines, big rectangle, really thin rectangle, and another big one. Happens in Canada all the time. So, does that make it good art? No. If it was sold for $2, does that make it good art? No. So you cannot say the price tag associated with something makes it good. This is not Kobe beef from Japan. This is not. There's no objective values we can use to criticize this product. It is literally a bunch of modern interpretations of visualization of colors and lines and shapes. So,
I think that's a trick. That's an advertising trick I think people use. Like for you're buying the brand. You're paying $120 for a shirt,
yes.
or you can pay $20 for the exact same shirt. It's just that it has a successful brand name, the other one doesn't. It's like I don't know, Walmart brand or something, but it's the exact same quality.
Yeah, we watched a video on this, I think, last year about the color of red. No one could get the exact color of red for this piece of modern art, as if that makes it objectively better.
Therefore, it's a genius piece of art.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, bravo that there was some actual artistry behind the making of 3 colors, whatever the hell the thing was called. But that does not make it good. Okay? You need to have standards. You need to understand the function of art. You can't just say, well, modern art, anyone can do it.
that's not how you talk about movies. Because even movies that are considered the worst ever made, like Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Okay, but why is it the worst ever made? How do you know it's the worst ever made if it's not objectively bad? What does he mean by it's no longer good if something is bad and when there's no standards? There's no criteria. It's just whatever I say.
And why do we even have awards for movies? Why even have 5-star rating, 4-star rating? Why even have critics at all? Why even have Rotten Tomatoes if everything is just subjective?
Yeah, why should we listen to this guy? There's no standard. Everything's subjective. Okay.
The reason why we have movies, why we rate movies so highly, why we tag movies as masterpieces or flops, is because we can look at the masterpieces and see why it works, what makes them so much better than everything else. Like if you look at The Godfather, you see the writing, you see the characterization, you see the interactions between the characters, how they're written, how deeply the characters are fleshed out.
Right.
And you compare that to a terrible movie, an objectively terrible movie. You see how shallowly their characters are fleshed out. So it's the reason why we have why some movies are masterpieces and some movies aren't is because there is some sort of objective standard. And the reason why we have this is because we can look to those masterpieces and see greatness in there and study the greatness in there and see why things work and why things don't.
Which is kind of sad when you think about the original series of Star Wars and the writing's on the wall why it's good. It's pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see interpretations by Mr. Abrams, and there seems to be a lack of soul behind them.
Yeah.
And that's not just because of Mary Sue's or other protagonists that don't work. There's a storytelling element that's lost. I can't quite describe it. It's very hard to say.
I think they stopped trying to tell a story and they tried to tell you explosions and lightsabers.
I don't know. I have to look at Bad Robot more to figure out what kind of production they are because I know very little about the making of movies, etc. But I do know storytelling, and I can tell you that something is missing. You can only carbon copy episode 4 so much, and you lose something in the process. So,
I mean, you can look at other people. I mean, J.J. Abrams may have done another Star Wars movie, but there have been many other creators who have waded into the Star Wars pool and tried their hand at creating a Star Wars story, and a lot of them have been successful. Not just because George Lucas approved of it or anything like that. It wasn't George Lucas who wrote these books. It was other creators. I mean, the one I always like to go to is the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, and the short ones, the short episodes that he made. Those were each and every single one of those episodes were fantastic masterpieces in and of themselves. And he was not the original creator. He just respected the franchise and respected the medium. So and they turned out great.
Yeah, so there are good fan fictions out there. It's not hard to find them. And we can see that especially in the KOTOR series or even some versions of the Old Republic nowadays. Originally it came out, wasn't as hot. But give something enough time and money, it will eventually rise to the surface. So not the greatest strategy, but that's how BioWare tends to do things these days. Keep throwing money at the problem.
Bowl 2 or the best of the worst movies.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
The Room has a massive following and it still packs out midnight screenings.
Yes, but why, sir? Please tell us why is The Room?
Because it's bad.
Yes, it's so bad it's good, right?
It's such a bad movie with such horrible acting that it became a marvel as to why it was so bad. But unlike The Last Jedi, The Room was bad in an entertaining, charming way. Last Jedi is kind of bad in a hostile way, like someone yelling in your face.
That and Tommy Wiseau just ran with it because he was broke at that point, so he may as well. Oh yeah, we totally meant to do that. Yeah, of course. Sure thing.
So, unless a movie is hated by all and sundry and the entire population of the Earth, how could you say it's objectively bad?
Okay, this is really backwards, as if everyone's opinion, let's say everyone in the world, including LiteratureDevil, thinks The Last Jedi is great. Okay, everyone in the world, except for me. Does that mean they're true because they all said so? No, of course not. They have to go under the rigorous testing of analysis of what makes something good or bad. That's all it takes. And notice how this person has not even said one thing yet about the movie. He just talked about sales figures and the opinion of others as if that matters. It's ridiculous. This is not an argument. He's not even talked about anything yet.
This is a run of the numbers. He's actually watched a lot of defenses of The Last Jedi and just decided to copy what they said and put it in his own video.
Essentially.
That's right. You can't.
Okay, so again, he agrees with this statement that because everyone thinks one way, therefore it's true.
That's untrue.
Yes, that is very much false.
They're eating her. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my God!
The second complaint is that this movie is filled with bad writing, as though the movie is broken at a building blocks level.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's
got
exactly
it.
True.
Exactly right on the nail, sir. You hit it very right on there. Exactly.
Like, the problem is not with the people's opinions of the movies or dislike, it's the problem with the craft itself. But bad writing is subjective too.
Oh my God.
No.
That's like saying bad acting is subjective.
Tommy Wiseau, just because we all think Tommy Wiseau is a bad actor doesn't mean he's a bad actor. He's probably the greatest actor who ever lived. If we can find 1,000 people who dislike him, but we get 10,000 people who do think he's a great actor, then therefore he's a great actor.
Tommy Wiseau, he should be in Othello. We can score him for Hamlet. He should be doing all these red carpet interviews of his next version of whatever, Cats. He could do anything.
To be fair, I do want to see him in Othello and Hamlet, but not because he's good, because of the opposite is true. When
I saw Tommy Wiseau in The Last Jedi, I thought that was brilliant. There is a video on YouTube for that, in case you guys don't know.
I liked him as a Joker when he'd paired up with his partner, so he can play the Joker and he can play Batman. That was fantastic.
So just so you know, there is a craft to writing. You go to school for this. I went to several classes actually. You learn English as a child. You keep learning English. You get a degree in English. Gee, I think there's some actual history and lessons to learn if you can get a PhD in grammar and English and other languages of the world.
I once heard of a Hakawati, the what they call oral storytellers in the Middle East, which is why I didn't put in my Western versus Eastern video, by the way. But I could never find this again, but I heard the story during my research of a Hakawati oral storyteller who kept people enthralled with his stories for over 800 days. And it became such a nuisance that he kept people enslaved to his stories for over 800 days that the Sultan himself had to give a decree for him to stop. Because he was just being too much of a nuisance, because no one could stop listening to his stories.
There is certainly a craft to oral traditions as well as written traditions. We have
the art of storytelling.
We have them written down. We have the Odyssey. We have the Iliad that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. So there are reasons why Homer was as good as he was and was copied as he was. So if you think there's no craft to storytelling, there's no craft to anything. Why go to school? Why do anything in life if you can't learn anything?
Listen to this excerpt from The Bridges of Madison County. And he heard the words he whispered to her, as if a voice other than his own were saying them. Fragments of a Rilke poem. Around the ancient tower I have been circling for 1,000 years. The lines of a Navajo chant. He whispered to her of the visions she brought to him, of blowing sand and magenta winds, and brown pelicans riding the backs of dolphins, moving north across the coast of Africa. Yeah, that's the worst.
Well, first off, it's purple prose, so it has its own style of poetics. Secondly, there was some weird music and some horses running around, so I don't know what that was to connect with. So we can always grade that not on just the words, but his performance, the music, the visuals, etc., right? We could do all these things. And it's not my opinion. I don't know what horses have to do with poetry about a man trying to seduce a woman and piano music. It could be good. It could be romantic. Just in what context? See, that poetry could be good in a certain context, in a certain light. But because it was thrown at us out of the blue, you're like, what was that about? I don't know. Could it have been good? Was it dialogue? Was it a monologue? Was it just some poem some guy wrote? I don't know. Could have been part of a comic book for all I know.
So this guy's going to go ahead and his position essentially is my immortal, that Harry Potter fan fiction might be good because
Oh dear.
because there's no such thing as craft in writing. There's no such thing as objectively good or objectively bad. It's all subjective. So if I think my immortal is an incomprehensible pile of nonsense, then that's just my opinion. There's no objective truth to it. And if he likes it, then it's objectively good, or it's good.
Unless 10,000 people disagree with him, then it's wrong.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. So if I get more people to like something, then I can find people who dislike something. Therefore, it's good. Okay.
But that novel sold 600 million copies and spent 143 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. So maybe just because I don't like it doesn't make it bad. Funny that.
Yeah, okay. The way that something is bad is you prove it's bad through evidence and argument, okay? Not everyone else bought it except for me. The best sellers list is the best sellers list, not the best critics list, the best PhDs in English literature list.
It's because it sells a lot.
Why did it sell? What was that? Does anyone know what that was from? I don't even know. It was probably some, trite Harlequin romance or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why there's a market for trash novels. It's just something to entertain yourself. People love to buy those. And the literary works don't really sell as well because it's not pandering to being entertaining. It's pandering to being something, exploring deeper themes like literary works tend to do.
Yeah,
so you can have trash novels outsell things like Shakespeare.
Yeah, if he wants to talk about sales figures, then why isn't he talking about marketing? How can you buy this product? How can you have access to it? How much did it cost, etc.? Look at video games like Planescape Torment. Financially a disaster, but one of those memorable games that I've ever heard of or ever played for its literary themes, its literary characters, its choices and consequences, like all these beautiful things that you wanted out of a Western RPG. And it's still, I could pop it in any day and go, wow, it's still good. It still resonates. Nothing to do with sales figures, nothing to do with marketing. I don't think it even had marketing.
Exactly. So if you had a writer who wrote this next masterpiece, the next groundbreaking masterpiece, he's a modern day Shakespeare, but he has a very, very low marketing budget and he has a few dollars to his name. And then you have someone who writes these trash novels that have no real value, just there to be entertaining. But he has a whole company behind him. He sells 1 million copies. This modern day Shakespeare guy sells maybe 500, 200. 100. According to him, because the trash novel guys sold 1 million copies and modern day Shakespeare over here only sold maybe 50 to 100, probably all to his friends, the trash novel guy's work is objective, is better, would be considered much better. A good solid work, while modern day Shakespeare's work is considered bad.
This
is the argument he's making.
That's his logic. It's just bizarre.
You have to have a good marketing budget, or else your book will be bad.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I just got 2 super chats. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing. Did you guys get a lot of money at Christmas and you're just trying to get rid of it? What the hell?
Everyone's tired of these people.
Just slow down. Trying to have a conversation here. So let me read out Reed James. The Last Jedi contradicts its own messages. It constantly undermines everything it's trying to say. There
Absolutely.
there is a little bit of weird dichotomy between, is this the way the story should go? And then you have the theme pop in and say, oh, you're supposed to fail. So it's like, oh, so everyone's supposed to screw up? It's like, all right. So is everyone going to die at the end? Or are we just going to deplete our numbers till we just run away again and keep running away. It's a very odd message and a very odd through line that you're in this slow-mo car chase in space, and it's like, okay, okay. Everyone fails at everything, the good guys and the bad guys, which I guess is consistent because they don't get anywhere. They're at exactly the same spot as they were at the beginning of the movie, just with less resources. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good message, Ryan Johnson.
Thank you,
You
Ryan.
made a very boring movie to get that message across.
Life is pain until you die. It's just everything.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
Wasted potential, everything gone. And the second super chat by, again, Punished Berserker. This is number 3, sir. I don't know what you're made of, but it's obviously money. Ryan Johnson. Stop flaming my movie. Preps. Ray's name is Roy, not Marusu. I won't update till I get 10 good reviews.
Oh, that's from My Immortal. That's a My Immortal play.
Oh, really?
Because I think every single word in My Immortal is spelt wrong, and she actually types like this. When she go at the end of each chapter, he says, "I will not update again until I get like 10 good reviews," and everything is spelled wrong. Everything. I don't know. I think it's a troll who wrote that after reading it. So, you might think so too, but yeah, it's pretty much I could see Ryan Johnson saying that though. But that is a play on My Immortal. And that's also a good point to bring up. That means in this guy's world, according to his logic, review bombs are valid. So when everyone was review bombing, say Black Panther or any of the Star Wars movies, those were not trollish actions. Those were legitimate actions because people disliked them. People said this movie's terrible, and we're review bombing it. And according to his logic, that would be valid.
Oh dear. That does not sound like a very valid form of criticism, but hey, numbers count, right?
According to him, that's how it goes.
Dollar bills, yo.
However, there is such a thing as objectively bad writing.
What?
Didn't he just say there wasn't?
You just said there's...
Let's just go. I'm going to go back because I'm quite sure he said
there wasn't. I could have sworn he just said the opposite.
Broken at a building blocks level. Like, the problem is not with the people's opinions of the movies or dislike. It's a problem with the craft itself. But bad writing is subjective too.
Okay.
You just said that bad writing is subjective. So what do you say? What did you say before this? Didn't you say there's bad writing is objective?
Yeah, I just rewound it to 3 minutes. So first he says bad writing is subjective.
Like, listen to this excerpt from... So, take, for example, 2001's The Planet of the Apes. Writing has rules. Some can be better than that. However, there is such a thing as objectively bad writing.
Okay, so there's subjectively bad writing.
No, he said, first of all, when he said the first time, he said bad writing is subjective. And then he says there is such a thing as objectively bad writing. And he put a little subscribe button at that moment too. Like, subscribe to this quality content that contradicts itself, that directly contradicted itself at this very moment. It's a very interesting placed subscribe button there.
So there's subjectively bad writing and there's objectively bad writing.
There's an objectively bad writing, but bad writing is subjective. Make that just figure that out. Just make of that what you will.
I can't. I wish I could have my insight in this person's brain. I just can't.
How does that work?
Yeah, we're a bit confused on this side of the screen, guys. If you want to clue in on the comments there, just
This is supposedly an edited video. He could have gone over before. What does this even mean? Like this should have been fixed before he uploaded it.
Yeah, he should have read the script saying, "Wait a second, is this X good or bad? Oh, it's both." Wait, what?
So bad writing is subjective, but there is such a thing as objectively bad writing.
Okay. So let's say both are true.
How?
I don't know. I just don't. Let's just say that. So his opinion is that something could be bad in writing, but there's also objectively bad writing.
I don't even know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, no, I don't know either, but
I could see it being a mistake, maybe a mistaken terminology, but you usually might be able to get a hint of what they were trying to say.
Yeah, either
I don't
way,
even know.
Either way, in either case, whether it's his opinion or whether it's fact, something can be bad. Therefore, The Last Jedi can be bad. I think. I could be wrong here, guys.
He argues like Vosh. Like it's these things are true as long as I need them to be true.
Yeah.
And then they're not true when I need them not to be true.
It's a very dizzying intellect, as we like to say from The Princess Bride.
Okay, so maybe he explains it. Let's see if we can figure out what he was trying to say.
Okay, let's just keep going.
Because in writing has rules. Some can be bent, others broken.
Hold on. He just spent the first part of this video arguing against the very idea that writing has rules and all that stuff. So now writing has rules. Now there's some objectivity and creativity.
Apparently, you can be taught how to write. So,
I think maybe you shouldn't have done this in the same video.
I don't know. Maybe not in the same paragraph. Yeah.
We need a little bit some more explanation. Hopefully, he does.
But there are certain things that have to hold together or the whole thing collapses. So, take for example 2001's The Planet of the Apes by Tim Burton. At one point, Mark Wahlberg's character says this.
You show me how we out of here. I promise you, I'll show you something that will change your world forever.
And while that's a cool line to put in trailers and all that, it doesn't actually work in the film, because the thing he's describing, this world-changing thing, he doesn't know it. So he finds it out a couple of hours later in the movie, and is shocked.
What if he's lying? What if he's trying to influence someone and he's not saying the truth?
It could be. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but it's possible.
Like, I see what he's trying to say here, but this is not really the best example or the best explanation.
Because he just argued against this. In the very first part of this video, he just argued against this entire possibility that your opinions are subjective and bad writing is subjective. Now there's objective elements to it.
Yeah, but what if he's actually amazed that what he thought was exciting wasn't the same thing, and then he's even more excited because it's different?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of interpretations.
And now he came out and openly admitted that there can be things in a movie that don't work and actually dampen the actual quality of the movie overall. So why can't the same thing be true for The Last Jedi? Why can't there be things? How come there can't be a possible element or a scene or a line in Last Jedi, of which there are many, that take away from the quality of The Last Jedi? Hypothetically speaking, that The Last Jedi does have any sort of quality to it. But if the rule works for the Planet of the Apes, can't the same thing happen or work for The Last Jedi?
Apparently not, because again, it's objectively good because a lot of people watched it.
But that's not true now. That's not true now, though, because he's arguing against all the stuff he just argued for in the beginning of the video. What do you do?
This is very entertaining, guys. This is the weirdest entertaining video we've seen so far.
This is bizarre, to say the least.
Dennis Marquez, thank you again, sir. Was this guy video written by Ryan Johnson?
It's about the same writing quality, I have to say.
It's a dizzying intellect. Let's just say that.
Because it went to by the numbers to completely insane.
To contradicting himself. Yeah, it's very, very odd. I guess he needs an editor or a proofreader. Just say, hey, wait a second. You're talking about the same thing here, and you're saying it the exact opposite opinion.
So here's my opening arguments. Now let me get a sledgehammer and destroy those opening arguments.
It's like a format. Nah, don't worry about it. They'll just go with it.
It's like in Kung Pao. I'm bleeding, making me the victor. We trained him wrong as a joke.
Yeah. Oh. It has become his own farce. Okay.
So, he knows it here. He doesn't know it here. So, most of the plot of the movie is him gathering people to go to this place to learn a secret that he doesn't know. So that's objectively bad writing. That doesn't work.
Okay, a line of dialogue which could imply something, yeah, that could be bad writing. But as we said before, he could be lying. He could be exaggerating the truth. He could be excited at the end when he finds the secret. So without having seen the movie, in memory, you can interpret dialogue and intentions and behaviors differently. Little different. Not the best example, but we get what he's trying to say here, that the character didn't know a thing before he saw the thing.
Except he destroys his own arguments. So he's saying, he just said, after explaining that there's some things, there is a possibility that some things do not work. Something can be wrong with the writing. Some things can be wrong with the plot and relative to the writing and dialogue. So, he just said that the plot can be one thing, but the actual events that the characters go through, what they know and what they don't know, can be in contradiction to what the plot is saying, where the plot is going. And therefore, he says, that's bad writing. So the plot is Mark Wahlberg's character doing X, but he should know some sort of knowledge that he should know at this point. Therefore, he says that specific, according to him, the example he gave, that's bad writing, and that doesn't work with the plot. So he's admitting, after all of that subjective and objective argumentation, that bad writing does exist objectively, and that things in the movie can objectively be wrong and dampen the quality of the movie. But somehow that doesn't apply to The Last Jedi, which commits writing sins far worse than that.
It's hard to follow. Okay, so we're gonna try and keep going. Oh, I got another super chat. Read James. If a movie is only bad if everyone hates it, then a movie is only good if everyone loves it. And I hate The Last Jedi, so it can't be good. Thank you, sir, Mr. Reed James. There we are. All right. Perfect logical conclusion based on this person's interpretation.
Straight up his own logic.
Yeah. And we have another super chat. What is happening tonight? You guys are just throwing me, giving me things to say I don't want to say. White Knight Leo. Raylos. Oh, Raylos. That's a whole
Raylos.
Yeah. They are as bad as the vapid bimbos who sent Zokar Zernev love letters while he was in custody waiting trial for the Boston Marathon bombing. Well,
they actually kind of are. I've heard some crazy stuff about Raylos. They tried to ruin Adam Driver's life.
It's any fan, especially the fan girls. They are serious. They go crazy.
These Raylos are a special breed of crazy. Well, maybe not special breed of crazy, but they are the same breed of extreme crazy. Under different circumstances. So I mean, they have this evil has had many names over the years, and its recent incarnation is Raylo. And that's my favorite thing about the Rise of Skywalker, is that this is one thing it actually did that was really good, was destroy the possibility of Raylo, because Adam Driver's character dies, and unfortunately they can't bring him back. He might come back as a Force ghost, but they can't really resurrect him like he resurrected Rey.
Oh,
because
really?
Rey would probably die.
I thought she had the power to heal people.
Nope, she can't. She healed him once. He doesn't get a second chance.
Oh, you only get one chance.
Yeah, like one chance. Apparently, you get one chance because it takes life force. You have to drain your own life force to heal people, according to the movie. So, if she were to resurrect Kylo, because she had just died at that point, so Kylo's life force is inside of her. So, if she gives it back, Kylo might come back to life, but she would then, of course, die again. So it's either one or the other. You have to one of them needs to be alive.
I got two more super chats. Come on, guys, this is going to be all night. Automata, very cool name. He's also conflating a philosophical use of objective meaning truth, irrespective of all thought. Hence, if anyone disagrees, it cannot be objective. Well, that's interesting. I mean, if you have the concept that there is an objective truth, that all other thought is immaterial to that, therefore it's false. That's kind of awkward. I mean, you're like, oh, I only see X, therefore Y and Z don't exist. It's like, no, you're just not looking at Y and Z. It's right over there. So yeah, he's not perceiving the rest of the reality he's observing, which is what it's a common mistake even I make. I sometimes forget things. I miss things. That's why you have to redo it, go back, reassess, and reobserve. That's the whole process. I'm not perfect. I get lots of things wrong, and people point that out in my videos. I always appreciate that. It's always good to get more information that you might have missed. And another super chat. We're going to be here for another hour, guys. Come on.
That's all right.
I know, you appreciate it, but this is like, okay. Punished Berserker says, if I hadn't already planned on drinking, listening to this British... Wait a second. Let me reread this. If I hadn't already planned on
Very
drinking,
nice.
listening to this British cigarettes would have driven me to it. That's an interesting...
Very clever. Very clever. Nice dance around. I like that. You can also use bundle of sticks. Hey,
Yes, we know.
the other favorite.
There's lots of people on my channel that like writing. They like to use the fancy words. Like cigarettes. I'm going to call it, you cigarette, sir. Like, wait. I don't smoke. What are you talking about?
Quit acting like a British cigarette already.
Scrutiny that falls apart. Also, Mark Wahlberg did a hate crime in the 80s, and no one really talks about it anymore. But
Okay, so as soon as he said that, I'm like, yep, I know what fence this guy stands on when it comes to politics. It's like, oh, someone said something bad or did something bad long time ago.
A hate crime in the 80s.
Does anyone know what he's talking about?
I have no idea.
Mark
What do you do?
Wahlberg.
What do you do? Go across the street when you saw someone coming his way? I don't know.
Did
Was
he,
it a real hate crime or was it like a made up hate crime?
did he drop a baby that was not of Caucasian descent and didn't profusely bend over and apologize? Like,
He accidentally listened to a rap song and not disembowel himself when he got caught doing it? I don't know. What did he do?
what could you do in the 80s that's really heinous? I don't know.
It was the 80s.
That was before like swearing in rap music was a thing, so I don't know what the heck happened in the 80s. Well, it's curious to find out, but it's not a big deal. It's just funny that he popped that up there. I guess he was trying to be funny, but it tells us a lot more about his character than it does why would he even mention that otherwise. So
I don't care about his hate crimes in the 80s.
while Planet of the Apes has that problem with structurally bad writing, you can have bad writing
structurally bad dialogue, maybe.
So the structurally bad writing, he said. So not only can there be bad writing, there can be structurally bad writing.
Yeah.
So the structure can be bad too.
He's really digging that hole really deep. He's just...
Did he forget? Did he forget what he did in the first part of this video?
It's all subjective, except when it's not.
Is he from Memento? Does he have the same?
He's going backwards.
Memento disease?
He's changing his mind. Can't remember 10 minutes in the future.
thing that is broken on a sort of entertainment level. So if you take
Broken on an entertainment level. To me, that sounds very subjective. It's like, hey, I don't really like this song this guy is playing in the movie. Doesn't do it for me.
And if you're trying to now make the argument that according to him it's bad, that's subjective, he can't do that because he specifically said that the writing in Planet of the Apes, at least some parts of it, was objectively bad. And he used it as an example of objectively bad writing, and even used the word objective. So he doesn't have that out anymore.
It's an odd statement depending on what you think art is or what storytelling is. To me, art or storytelling is all about entertainment and teaching. So if you're saying it's broken on an entertainment level, that's kind of like saying, well, this romance isn't very romantic, or this science fiction doesn't have much science fiction in, or I don't buy the science fiction, etc., etc. So it's such a strange thing to say. Like, I would say that The Room is very entertaining.
Oh,
but
yeah.
because the drama is broken, because the acting's so bad, everything else breaks and you're laughing at the farce while they're playing it as a serious drama.
Yeah, I mean, The Room was objectively bad, but it's still entertaining.
Right. It's a hard thing to say. It doesn't work. Like, let's say it's not my cup of tea, right? Like the Blair Witch Project. I wasn't really scared watching it, but other people were terrified of it. So to me, that could potentially be broken entertainment. I don't know. It's a very hard statement to make. Because I think it was actually a very functional, very useful, very successful entertainment for being a thriller. It's just not me personally. So I could see the objects moving in the screen and the very use of the footage from the camcorder. I get that. I get the technique. And it was successful in that way. It just didn't scare me just because of my personality. That's about it. So.
The Bond movie, A View to a Kill, we, as the audience, find out what the villain's plan is very early on. And then we have to watch Bond try and work out what it is. And it takes a really long time. But the problem is we're not going on that journey with him because we already know the answers. So we're just waiting for him to catch up with us.
I don't know. I think we're going on the journey with Bond in all the movies. Whether we know what's going to happen is kind of nice. Like, we have more information than the characters on the screen.
Yeah, it's called dramatic irony.
It's not an uncommon technique. So I don't see why we still can't go on the journey with him.
I mean, the Alfred Hitchcock made his entire career off of dramatic irony. At least some of it.
It's not that big a deal. I don't like. We're still watching Bond be Bond and go through all his trials and tribulations. So it's, again, a very odd statement to make about a very popular franchise, which is not hard to understand.
I think he needs to redo this video.
Yes.
See me after class, okay?
Something. I just, whoa.
And that doesn't work in terms of an entertainment thing.
Why? It's a Bond film. It's Bond. He shoots guys. He has a fast car. He gets into a chase. There's a femme fatale. There's cool music. It's a spy thriller. It's awesome.
I go James Bond for some awesome stuff. I want him to punch bad guys. I want him to fight some megalomaniacal villain who has like shark tanks in his lair and has a pet like prehistoric shark that he revived or something. I want something outrageous. I want volcano hideouts, or I want cannons on the moon or something. Something like that. I don't go to James Bond for some deep satirical like work or some. Yeah, literary work or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that was what's his name's Roger Moore's last Bond film. I think so. He was like 60 years old, but he was still kicking. Like, he was still doing all these stunts. Well, he wasn't doing stunts. I doubt it, but it was still an entertaining thing. They had what's his name? The guy, the villain was played by that fantastic actor. Christopher Walken. There we go.
Oh yeah.
He was probably the evilest Bond villain. He actually killed his henchmen. He just pulls an Uzi out. He just starts shooting them. He's crazy. Fantastic. So there was plenty of entertainment to have in, I think it was in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. During the 80s. Trying to remember my childhood, but Bond films were awesome. Oh, another from Punished Berserker. Thank you, sir. This guy's mom did a hate crime in the 80s by not a... Okay, that's a bit cruel. That's not nice, sir.
It was entertaining, though.
It was entertaining, but in bad taste.
And while the movie is wonderfully campy, it doesn't work as a well-written piece of fiction.
Okay, interesting, because most Bond films are supposed to be kind of campy until you talk about the more recent ones. So
yeah, it took the fun out of Bond films.
Yeah, they're kind of funny, violent, sexy, action-packed, high adventure sort of things.
When you go back to the original books, now those are more British spy novel series. Yeah. But the films, they're just supposed to be fun, entertaining. They still have lots of value to them, but they're not. They're supposed to be fun, and I want to see Bond punch guys, and I want outrageousness for my Bond films.
Yeah, it's as if saying the narrative gives the audience information that the protagonist doesn't have somehow defeats the entertainment value. No, of course not. That's a weird thing to say. So
yeah, I mean, it's a powerful literary technique, in fact.
Yeah, I don't see. Then we're like, oh my God, we know it's coming. Bond better watch out, or we have that information that the protagonist doesn't. Like, we see the shadow or the guy behind him. He's about to stab Bond. Oh, look out! It's the same thing.
I think I heard an example of two guys who meet in a restaurant for a meeting, and they want to talk to each other. But the first shot is there's a gun hidden underneath the table by the guy who's already there, and then during the entire scene, the present. You know the presence of the gun is there, but the protagonist or the guy who's arriving doesn't know is there. So tension builds because you see the gun. The gun is there for a reason, and you're kind of anticipating and waiting for the other guy to pull it out and shoot somebody. Someone has to get shot. Chekhov's guns rules. So that just because the protagonist doesn't know something doesn't mean it's not entertaining, or doesn't even mean it's bad. It's a powerful writing technique.
Yeah, it's builds suspense. It's part of writing. It's a good thing. Whether it's entertaining is kind of up to you, your tastes. But the objects in the room are all working the way they should. So the execution, you could argue the details, how good it was executed, and how effective that was in general. But if the elements are in play and they work well, to me that is an objectively good scene. So yeah, let's just keep going.
Now, Admiral Holdo not telling Captain Poe Dameron her plan, that's not bad writing.
Okay, we're back on Last Jedi now. I don't know where we jumped from.
I want to see where this is going.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see where this is going after getting off that James Bond tangent.
In fact, that's incredibly good writing.
Wow.
That's not bad writing.
It's not just good writing. It's incredibly good writing. I guess it's conflict. I mean, that is true. It is writing is about conflict.
Manufactured conflict. I mean, the reasons for withholding the information is it's not anything substantial. It's just because she wants to prove like a point or something. I don't know. Because there's no evidence of like a spy or that the information is being leaked or something. It's just she just doesn't tell him, and he expresses great frustration, and he's went on a mad quest to like single-handedly destroy the First Order fleet because he didn't know there's any other hope. But she still decides not to tell him for what reason.
And he asks, I think, 3 times, and he finally, at the 3rd time, he gives up and mutinies.
Yeah, mutinies.
So, I mean, you could say that's his motivation to do so, but that's a really bad thing to happen in a scenario where you're on a boat and you're getting shot at and you don't know how you're going to survive the next few minutes. So,
it looks like your leadership is doing nothing.
Yeah.
They won't tell you anything, not even a hint.
There has to be some guidance, some hope that something's happening. He even mentions that.
That's why I'm saying there should be like some evidence of a spy or maybe some potential leaks that will get back to the First Order, but there's no evidence of that as far as I remember in the movie. She just decides not to tell them because the writers of the movie wanted to deliver a message to you.
Yeah, the classical example I hear, I think when the movie first came out, the first week, people were saying, well, I'm a military fellow, and it happens a lot in the military where your people in charge don't tell the subordinates what's happening. It's like, okay, yeah, that's true, but were you ever on a boat that you're getting shot at and you don't know what to do, and your captain says, yeah, don't worry about it, just go to your station and I'll tell you what to do later? And you ask again, and then you ask again, and you get the same response?
It might be a little too loud. Someone I think might be distorting. See here.
Really? Let me check. Your levels are the same as always. It's I'm actually put you at 90% volume, so
okay. Well, let's check it out.
Maybe you're getting very affectionate with your mic. I want to speak louder into the mic. Okay, so let's go back to this gentleman and his opinion that it is incredible writing that Holdo doesn't tell Poe the plan. Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because good writing should elicit a response more than just being, oh, that's nice.
Okay. So his opinion is that good writing should elicit a response more than, oh, that's nice. So if I have a sentence that says, I teleported to the sun, and the next sentence was, wow, it's a nice day out here. That will elicit a response, mostly of confusion, but it's a response. Is that good writing?
No, not really.
I don't think so.
Just because you get the response to that was infuriation. Like everyone hated that. you're supposed to give like it wasn't even supposed to be intended to anger you. It was intended to make you go, oh, Poe is being a bad guy. He's being a bad boy. Naughty, naughty Poe. But it didn't. Okay, it's not good writing. if it doesn't make it's so nonsensical that it makes you angry. That it makes the audience angry. That's not good writing.
I
Because
thought,
it's so nonsensical.
I thought there was going to be some reveal that Holdo would have been in communication with Admiral Hux of like a ceasefire or something. That's why she wasn't doing anything. She didn't want to tell anyone. Like she had her own thing going.
Doesn't happen.
Nothing.
It's just, because she wants to treat Poe like a teenager or something.
I don't know.
It should be something that moves you on an emotional level. That
Yeah, we were confused as hell.
And angry and infuriated that all that stuff was wasted. And okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Oh, it wasn't anything special. It was just another outlet for the writers to, I don't know, to lambast toxic masculinity or something.
And
That's just dumb.
To give Leia the option to shoot Poe for no reason.
Yeah.
Once Leia was out of her bed and she was walking around on a crutch, it's like she didn't have to shoot Poe. All she had to do was walk in the room. Poe, stand down. Okay, Leia, you're in charge. Fine. That would have been fine. But nope, had to shoot Poe. The only way to resolve that problem there, Leia, Miss Jedi practitioner of peace and serenity, slapping him around like he's a little boy.
And then to make it worse, to make the whole characterization worse, is to emasculate Poe even more. Instead of him getting in actual trouble or them being angry, Holdo and Leia are like, oh, what a cute little mutiny. Isn't that adorable? I like him. I like Poe. That's their conversation after that happens. Like, what a cute little mutiny. Mm-hmm. Okay. You could just told him your plan, and all of this could have been avoided because it wasn't anything special. You just didn't want to tell him. That's not good writing. It just makes you angry because it had no value to it. I mean, one thing if it had value to it and it made you angry. It's another thing if it has no value to it, like the Holdo situation did, and it made you angry because it had no value. Your time was wasted, and everyone didn't know. There's a rule to writing. Number one rule, the one rule you should follow is that write something that makes a stranger not feel as if the time was wasted. That's why people didn't like the Holdo situation. Time was wasted.
Yeah, there's all kinds of techniques for like cutting the fat or getting to the point. I believe Vonnegut, I always said before, was that he hates mystery. He gets right to the point, doesn't care about build up or suspense. He's boom, there's the answer. You're like, oh, and then you live with the consequence, and he tells a story about the consequence. That's it. That's all he does. And he's a big satirist, so he'll talk about anything in politics or genetics or certain social norms. It's fantastic stuff. It's very unique to his style too. So there's all kinds of wonderful techniques of giving a payoff. And whether you build suspense or you give the payoff instantly, there has to be that trigger being pulled that we have to see and hear and taste and touch. And if you don't get that, or you find it, which is pretty much what The Last Jedi is, it's just a big blah. It's a big build up to nothing. Which is why it's bad writing. It's just all this, either build-ups are thrown away or it's a big gotcha. It's like, oh, psych, didn't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you ever watch Netflix's Dracula, it's essentially what happens. Big build up to nothing.
Oh, really? Oh, dear.
Yeah. That's exactly what I felt at the end of the whole series. So yeah, there's a reason why people were emotionally moved by that. And it wasn't a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's because it was bad writing. Horrific writing.
Stays with you, that produces discussion and conversation afterwards.
Yeah, it produced discussion and conversation because it was so bad.
It was so awful because it had no value and it destroyed it. It was basically the writer turning to the screen and insulting the audience.
When a character asks a question and it becomes a point of contention, and that contention is, well, she just didn't want to tell him. That's not a very good form of conflict, okay? That's
manufactured.
It's artificial. It feels fake. You don't do that in stories. You give the characters real conflict. Like, why won't you tell me the plan? you're not good enough for, like, give him a good reason. Scream at him. Give an emotional response saying, holy crap, this leader's crazy. I better watch myself around Holdo. You know, get on our good side. Try to, you know, coax her into giving us some information. Something. But no, there's no power dynamic. There's no interpersonal reaction. It's just, you sit over there, little boy. Do what you're told. That's the moral of the story for Poe.
And the whole thing is that the whole thing for that whole Holdo situation was to give some sort of moral story about Holdo wasn't trying to be a hero and Poe was trying to be a hero. I don't think Poe was trying to be a hero. The way they had Poe, they wrote Poe, that he was just trying to do something to help the resistance, and somehow that was him just trying to be a glory hog, just trying to be a hero. Him acting out, him going to attack the enemy, was doing anything. That was his whole character. Just being angry that no one was doing anything, being so frustrated no one was doing anything, that he went off and did something on his own. He just, for one, he attacked the enemy, destroyed those turrets, which saved lives, and second of all, he caused a mutiny because he saw no one was doing anything. But apparently that whole the moral of that whole situation was that Poe was bad, he was in the wrong, because he was apparently trying to be a hero. And Holdo was this wise leader in the right the entire time because she was just acting not trying to be a hero, just trying to act in the betterment of everybody and not trying to be a hero like Poe apparently was.
I don't see the problem with him, like her taking him aside and saying, listen, I'm going to tell you the plan. Don't tell anyone else because it's a secret. I don't want to get it out. And he's in charge. He's in charge of a squadron. He has his own men to look under him. So the same way Holdo does. So it's like, okay, fine. Need to know. Like that could have been a military statement where it's a need to know thing and only you're going to know. And maybe the audience doesn't know either. Maybe it's just a thing behind closed doors. Who knows? But give us a reason. The same with who the hell is Snoke? Who are Rey's parents? All these other questions that pop up during the movie that don't make any sense and were never answered. And it just boggles your mind at how confusing this crap is.
A good writer will put you in the shoes of a character and you will go on the journey with them.
Okay.
It did not happen in Last Jedi.
I don't think... Okay, this is the thing that I don't get. People think that Poe is on an arc. He's not on an arc. All he's doing is asking questions and figuring, where should we run to next? It's not an arc.
No, there are no arcs in these movies.
It's very bizarre. Oh, another super chat. Here we go. Tyler Preston. Thank you, sir. Ain't blindly following orders something the Empire in the First... Yeah, that's exactly what the Empire in the First Order do. Just be a good stormtrooper, fire when we tell you to, except with Finn. Finn had the conscience. That's what makes character Finn so interesting. He actually says, wait a second.
He defied it. He defied the norm.
Exactly. He was
rebellious. Don't ask questions. Just get excited about current orders and then get excited about next orders.
Exactly. There we go.
Poe, we're given this character who we know and love from The Force Awakens, and we love Oscar Isaac and all that cool stuff. And we see him interact with Leia. Leia is a character we know. Poe is a character we know. So when Leia is dressing him down, well, we know Leia's past. We know what she's been through. So we're like, yeah, that makes perfect sense that she would talk to him like that.
No, it doesn't make sense that she would slap him around for, I don't know, following a plan he enacted himself that she must have approved of, she must have known of. And if she didn't know it, what the hell is going on in this system where everyone's just sort of doing their own thing and not talking to each other?
All evidence points to Leia and Holdo being awful leaders of the Resistance.
It does not make any sense how that plan was enacted by Poe, aside from everyone was following him and everyone agreed with it.
Poe is so charismatic, written as charismatic. People tend to look up to Poe. It's kind of de facto leader because no one else is doing anything. I mean, that's why we kind of feel with Poe. We kind of side with Poe and not with Holdo, because Holdo is just there being just standoffish and not telling us any plan. And all we can see is that something needs to be done. They're running out of fuel. The First Order is going to destroy the Resistance. And the only one who seems to care is Poe. And people kind of side with him, agree with him. And we, as the audience, tend to side with him because he's the only one trying to do everything. Everyone else just seems like they're just sitting around waiting to die.
Yeah.
He's actually doing something.
He was the hero of the first part of the film, and Leia was in the wrong. Leia wanted him to stop. And he's like, no, we got to do this or we're going to die. And there's that one scene where the autocannon's about to fire on the Raddus. It zooms in on Leia, and she's like, and boom, the thing blows up. And the Raddus is saved because of Poe and his plan. At that point, Leia would be sad, but at the same time thankful that they're alive. And that should have been obvious. But instead, she hits Poe because people die in war. That's not a very good military leader.
We need to enact plans where no people die. There's no casualties.
I don't know.
That would be ideal, but it's not really a realistic possibility.
Yeah, it's a very odd response from Leia. That's why the character of Leia is even more confusing than, let's say, Luke. Like, yeah, she hung around, but she's really incompetent. And Holdo's a nobody. I'm like, what the hell is this? What is she doing? Nothing.
She was responsible for some such battle or something, some victory somewhere.
Right. In passing, as Poe is like talking to someone. We're like, what? She did what now? She's a military leader? Really? Okay.
With that hairdo, I don't think so.
Yeah, the very common rule in writing: show don't tell. But
she looks more like someone's spinster aunt. She's trying to be hip with the kids.
Hard to say. Purple hair really threw me off. Yeah.
She would have the upper hand. However, what Rian Johnson does is he removes Leia, brings in Holdo. Brand new character for us. So suddenly we're faced with these two characters, and the power dynamic is pretty much the same as what we've seen with Poe and Leia.
Okay, so who cares? If the power dynamic is exactly the same, why would you take an established character that we have history with and put in some other one that we don't have history with? It's like, thanks. Why would I want a weaker version of a character we like? That's stupid.
And what's really stupid is Holdo only exists so that they can stomp on Poe's toxic masculinity. Supposed toxic masculinity.
I don't know.
He's being way too aggressive. He's being way too toxically male because he went out on his own and started destroying turrets without any orders. And they couldn't have Admiral Akbar do it because he's also a man. And he probably would understand because Poe did the right thing. But so they had General Holdo come in solely, it seems, for the sole reason being to just emasculate Poe. And that's about it.
Yeah, I guess it would be too confusing if an alien male told Poe to go away.
Yeah, just hey, stop attacking the enemy.
Stop attacking! That's a crazy idea. Go away from there.
Poor Admiral Akbar. He should have been there instead of Holdo. Just remove Holdo, insert Admiral Akbar. That would have been a much better choice.
It would have been more interesting, yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't do the whole message that they wanted to do, which was just lambast toxic masculinity before they started lambasting capitalism. So that movie's so bad. That movie's the worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay.
I'd watch The Room before I watch The Last Jedi again.
Yeah, Room is way more entertaining, guys.
However, it's just that familiarity is gone. So when Holdo won't tell Poe
So wait a second, you just said the familiarity is gone. The same power dynamic, only less interesting. It was a great writing there, Ryan. Thank you. Can't wait to listen to this character who's exactly the same but more boring.
So according to him, what Rian Johnson did was just do the same thing, but more boring.
More boring,
and then everyone
exactly.
else in the room was like, you're a genius, Rian Johnson. Why did we think about doing the exact same thing, but more boring?
It's like the opposite of JJ. The exact same thing, but more explosions. It's like, oh,
We're just same thing, but multiply it by 1,000.
plan, as she's not beholden to do it. He is her underling. He's also proven that he's cocky and he doesn't follow orders.
Okay.
He's right. I mean, he's really good at his job. That's what he's proven to us.
It doesn't really matter what his personality is. It matters that what he did proved to be the right thing to do. So he has
Yeah,
he's got a bit of weight behind him, right? So we kind of rooting for Poe right here.
he was successful, and it actually helped. If I did what he did, and it messed up, if it's put them behind, if they had to expend resources to save him or something, or if it actually helped the First Order gain on them or something, then we could see. But it didn't do any of that. It didn't do any of that at all. Poe's actions actually came out as an absolute good. But we're told it's bad because he was too aggressive or something.
Yeah.
But that's irrelevant. It could simply come down to just chain of command. But the thing is, what the movie does is it takes us on that journey, and we are on Poe's side.
There's no journey. What are you talking about? He asks a question, he gets shot down. He asks it again, he gets shot down. He asks a third time, he has a mutiny. That's it. That's not a journey.
He doesn't learn anything. He doesn't. They try to make him learn something, but it's dumb because he actually did the right thing. If they had him do the wrong thing, it was, like I said, if it was depicted as wrong, which it wasn't, then we can kind of see a journey happening. But he was correct. And they're trying to force feed us a moral of not trying to act like a hero, which was really sloppily done. It was horribly done. But that's the whole point of Poe's characterization in that movie.
The argument that he's making is that he's an underling to her. Like, yeah, that was that's part of the statement of military command. That it's a need to know bit of information, and that was never stated. It was never like, yeah, I'm in charge, don't worry. You don't need to know this. This is a secret. We have a plan, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, that's never stated, though. It's never this military thing. It's just, oh, you're in command now. Great. Okay, what do we do? Nothing. There's no like, okay, just go to your post and like maybe, hey, Poe, go back in your fighter and go shoot down some more ships. Or, do something useful. Give him something to do. But nothing. He's given nothing to do. Go tend the wounded. Go do this. Go nothing. Don't you think a squadron, guys who's in charge, a captain of a squadron in charge of all these people, should go, take care of them, do something useful? You didn't think of that? Nah, nothing.
It's like a bunch of hippies are in charge of this rebellion. And just calm down, man. Just, I don't know, go and smoke some pot or something.
Oh,
and
no.
Just relax. Why are you so tense? Why are you so... I mean, we're running out of fuel. The entire First Order fleet is about to catch us and kill us. But why are you so angry? Why are you so tense? Just relax somewhere. Go sit on the beanbag chair. Listen to some audiobooks or something.
Another super chat from Punished Bear Zerker. Still love that name. Poe learns the important lesson that femoids shouldn't be in leadership positions.
Well, Leia and Holdo sure shouldn't.
Yeah.
They're terrible with their jobs. They're terrible. Poe is good. Poe is actually established as knowing what he's doing. The opposite is true for Holdo and Leia.
Yeah, it's a very awkward message, whether it's Poe should just follow orders, keep his mouth shut, or the people in charge are really incompetent and you should mutiny. It's
also under what circumstances as Leia a general? I mean, she's a princess, so I would depend on her to be, a diplomat.
Right.
If you were off to go talk with the First Order and see if they can work something out, but a military strategist, military commander, since when? How? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it all points to that Poe was the guy who came up with the plan to stop the Dreadnought. So, and that's before we even knew the Dreadnought existed. Like, no one knew this thing was going to come out of anywhere. And as soon as he saw it, it's like, boom, it's go time, people, boom. And you know how slow those bombers move? So that means as soon as that Dreadnought appeared, those bombers were in the air. Okay? Because those things are really slow.
Speaking of those bombers, they do bring back the Y-Wing in Rise of Skywalker. So now it makes no sense at all why they didn't use them in the first place.
Oh, Rian Johnson.
So I do like how J.J. Abrams just keeps throwing shade at The Last Jedi.
Well, even though he loved The Last Jedi, he keeps telling
apparently
us.
he loves The Last Jedi, yeah. The Rise of Skywalker says otherwise.
He totally loves The Last Jedi so much that he made a movie smashing it into pieces.
One of my favorite parts on that note is when Rey's about to toss away the lightsaber, and even though it's infinitely stupid, Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost catches the lightsaber and says, "You shouldn't. This is not a way to treat a Jedi weapon." So while it was really dumb, I did appreciate the fact that it did throw shade at the Last Jedi. So point for that, but however, -10 for everything else. But at least you get one. Okay, at least you get one.
Bravo, JJ. We'll give you some points.
So while we are following Poe and we want Poe to succeed, all that distrust from Holdo simply comes from unfamiliarity and Poe's reactions to her. However, when the plan becomes revealed and Poe feels like an asshole, we feel like an asshole too.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. I don't think Poe did either.
Yeah.
Unless it was out of character if he did, because he was right and we were right to believe in Poe, because Holdo's reasonings were dumb.
Not only were the reasonings dumb, but the lore behind it, as if there's some sort of special scanning method to detect cloaked ships, whatever a cloaked ship is now. It makes no sense.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not a visual cloak like with the Romulans in Star Trek. It's just a cloak. It's like, what does that mean? It's a cloak because I said it so. It's like, oh, really? Thank you, Ryan Johnson. I didn't know that. You had to explain that one to me. It's just dumb. And if that's all it was, why couldn't you tell him the plan? What was the big hang up? Does anyone know? I still don't know.
At the very least, we needed a good reason, which they do not give, other than do not act like a hero. That's the entire point. That's the only reason to give. Don't act like a hero. Don't be brash. Don't be a toxic man.
I can't think of one. I honestly can't. I don't think there is one. I think that was kind of I think Ryan Johnson wanted to have that sort of up in the air response to everything. And that, to me, that's the real theme of the movie. It doesn't mean anything. Everything you thought
actually
it
is
doesn't.
Stated theme, yeah. Stated theme, yeah.
So it's such people say it's like, failure is the greatest teacher, blah blah blah. It's like no. Everything means, it's a nihilistic message to everything you do. You're not going to win. It's not going to mean anything. You're just going to give up and die. That's the best thing you could. It's like, okay.
I mean, you can have that messaging, but the movie still has to go somewhere. It doesn't.
Well, that's another problem with the story, is the plot. But we're just focused on Holdo, which is incredible writing.
Because when you look at it, why don't you trust Holdo? You don't trust her because you don't know her. Poe doesn't trust her because Poe doesn't know her. If that was Leia saying these things, it wouldn't matter. If
it wouldn't matter because it's Leia. That's kind of the point you tried to make previously, that we know Leia. She's familiar. She would say things to Poe, like slapping him across the face and talking about heroism. And then Poe would say, okay, Leia, what do we do next? Oh, just go sit back in your chair there, Poe. I want you to learn a lesson. And then she'd teach them the lesson, whatever the lesson was. She would actually talk to him.
Because that's how Leia would work. And we know how Leia works. We know how Leia thinks, relatively speaking. We don't know Holdo at all. So we know we can trust in Leia because we've seen her. We know her intentions.
I don't think this person understands characterization very well.
Also, Leia is the one that does tell Poe in the movie about, like, don't be a hero and all that stuff. It's not Holdo. So I don't see why, unless Ryan Johnson was really wanting to do that, the stomp on toxic masculinity or whatever, and then there's no reason other than a political one to have Holdo in there and not have Admiral Akbar.
See, that's the sad thing about this movie, is we have no explanation aside from Ryan Johnson wanted it that way, and we're like, well, why did he want it that way? His personality, his political dispositions, etc.
It's all political, it seems. It's all these weird decisions are all political.
Right. And which is really sad, because we want to get the meta narrative of why the hell those bombers are such crap. It's all because Ryan Johnson wanted World War II bombers. For whatever reason. It's just the stupidest thing. Because we can't figure out any other reason why those bombers were designed the way they did.
Because he thought they were cool.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Okay, why do you guys keep staggering these super chats? They're all at one time. Jesus. Okay. Punish Berserker. Poe doesn't trust her because he doesn't know her. I think it has more to do with all of his friends exploding around him. But what WTF do I know?
Yeah, that's a good point because Holdo is doing nothing. As Poe sees everyone doing absolutely nothing, and all they can hear are, well, there goes another ship. Another ship is down. One of my friends has exploded. Well, what are we going to do? We need to do something.
Right.
We're running out of fuel. What's your plan? I don't want to tell you. Why? It's because.
Yeah, they lose 3 smaller ships in the process, and it's like, Holdo, hello, anytime, do
Someone
something.
needs to do something.
Yeah.
And I need a reason why I can trust your plan. Just a hint. It's something. Just give me a little something I can hang on to because all I can see is nothing is happening. We're just flying through space, slowly dying.
Yeah, not the most successful voyage through space in a slow-mo car chase, but that's what we were given, so. Yeah, and of course the solution itself was another, I call it an ass pull from Ryan Johnson just because, a cloaked ship, we're now using cloaking technology that can be detected by a cloaking scan, which defeats the purpose of having a cloaking piece of technology. It's really stupid.
I think the real lesson from Last Jedi is don't share your toys with Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
You will break them.
Don't give Ryan Johnson hundreds of millions of dollars to make a movie, or at least use $1 million of those dollars to hire an editor, at least.
Ryan Johnson is that kid who would, if you invite him into your sandbox, he would poop in the sandbox.
Oh, okay.
Just don't let him in.
That's a very interesting analogy, sir. Okay.
That's pretty much what he did with the Star Wars franchise.
I would say he stepped on the castle that was Star Wars, yeah. All right, another super chat from Tom the Cat. Thank you, sir. This is reminding me of people trying to defend Rey and that crazy nurse lady from that Darth Vader comic. Oh, yeah, I remember that. The points create more problems the longer the person speaks. Yeah. So there was that infatuated nurse from that Darth Vader comics who fell in love with Darth Vader.
Is that the one where he kills her and he says, "Clean up that trash" or something?
He treats her like she's nothing.
Yeah, I like that part. I like the part where he kills her and then just forgets about her. that part was total Vader.
Like
Everything else.
That is accurate Darth Vader right there. Boom, to a T. See that is I guess fan service, but really that's just good characterization. Vader's Vader.
As people have tried to posit, if that was Akbar doing it, we know who Akbar is, so we wouldn't be as confused.
We would still be confused. Okay? You'd be like, Akbar, why are you being a dick?
I mean, we would trust Akbar a little bit more because we know Akbar, but it still wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, you have to give us a good reason. Like, that's the problem. It could be a bad reason, but we need a reason.
Yeah, like a real reason, not a plot reason, a sound military strategic reason, not we want to deliver a message that you shouldn't be a hero reason.
Yeah, not I'm in command and you're my subordinate. I withhold this information because I say so. It's like, no.
A real reason.
Yeah, exactly.
What Johnson does is he puts this unfamiliar element in there and forces us to think, oh, well, maybe she's a traitor, maybe she's a spy.
I could do the exact same thing if it was Leia or Akbar saying the same stuff.
And it would be far more effective because we know those characters.
Right. We'd be confused.
Why would Akbar go traitor? Why would Leia go traitor?
Right. We'd be confused not because they said it, but because maybe they're thinking something else that is against their plot, that is against their reasoning, that is against their motives. That would have been interesting. Like, oh, wow, what's Leia have planned? Of course, if it was the same result, it would be pretty stupid. But, there's many ways to fix The Last Jedi, and we're always doing it every time we answer a question. So
probably step one would be start over.
Yeah. Just toss it all.
But no, she just doesn't have to tell him anything. And that is good writing.
No, how is that good writing?
It's
How?
It's objectively bad writing. It's horrible, horrific writing.
Yeah, he went from objectively bad definition of writing to then, and then there's Holdo. Like, wait a sec. Are you trying to tell us something here, sir? Someone have a gun to your head? What's going on?
James Bond was bad writing, but Holdo, it's not just good writing, it's
James
great writing.
You Do a Kill is a not very entertaining movie, but Holdo, oh, that's great writing.
Where did you go to writing school?
Okay, again, the super chats come all at once. What the hell? Dennis
Vim
Marquez.
Flow,
The only reason I see for not explaining my super duper secret plan is if I suspect there's a spy. That would be far more interesting. That is the most common response, sir. You win the argument there. Very simple answer and simple element. They didn't even have to be a spy. It could have been pure speculation. And Holdo could have been really scared or really hesitant and not believed or trusted anyone, especially in a leadership position. She was very skeptical. That would have been fine. Would have worked. We didn't get it. Mr. EC Cons. Watch Madoka Magica anime. It does subversion well. I don't know what Madoka Magica anime is.
I've seen it. It felt kind of weird watching it, but I was someone who recommended it to me.
Really?
And it's actually really good. It's really, really good. It's a deconstruction of the magical girl genre.
Oh, interesting.
It's very dark, and it's just like it gives you like a dark side to that genre, which is very interesting because it's usually a genre meant for being really bubbly and lighthearted and stuff.
I mean,
but it's really good. It's really good writing. It's really, really good writing.
Madoka Magica is a genre of magical girl. If you know anything about anime in the 90s, that was the first taste of anime in North America was Sailor Moon, which is a rendition of the magical girl genre. So, yeah, you have to appreciate it for what it's worth. Don't have the same standard as you would, I guess, Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I heard that's really serious, cool anime. Different than, let's say, late 90s, like Cowboy Bebop or Trigun. So different genres, different folks, different strokes, etc., etc. But hey, if it subverts your expectations for the genre, that is always cool. I love to hear about those stories. And I'll be sure to check out at least the first episode. So, thank you, sir, for your suggestion.
That puts us in a state of like emotional upheaval. It also helps something as well. Poe's character, Poe's growth. Throughout the movie, we see him fail.
He doesn't fail. He gets shot by Leia because Leia wants to shoot him, and she does. It was not a conflict.
He lets her. I'm pretty sure if Poe was really distrustful of everyone in command, he could have just easily taken down Leia too. But he trusts her and he knows her, so he just decided to stand him down. And then she shoots him. But same thing.
And what is this explosion on the screen? He doesn't fail. He's in a frickin' transport ship. He's not doing anything. How is this a failure of Poe? When did he fail in any of this time during the movie? He succeeded everything he did. He's successful in his mutiny. He's successful in bombing the dreadnought. What did he fail at?
He failed at not being awesome. So he was so awesome during the movie, but the whole lesson for Poe is you shouldn't be awesome, which is the exact opposite of what Rey is.
Yeah, well.
The lesson for Rey is she should always be awesome, that she's really awesome and she needs to be more. She just needs to use her awesomeness and just don't hold back, just let it out.
I'm surprised he hasn't brought up Rey or Mary Sue yet. I mean, that's like the number 2, right? It's always objective critique.
That's like one of the main critiques of The Last Jedi is that it worsens Rey as a Mary Sue. I mean, it makes her more of a Mary Sue.
Yeah. Well, we have about 3 minutes or 2 minutes left, guys. So let's see what we have to hear about why The Last Jedi is great.
And then finally, on Crate, this happens.
They're picking us all up. We're not gonna make it.
Okay, he has eyeballs. And he's watching the people in front of him die. He comes to the logical conclusion that if they keep going, they're all going to die. That is not a character moment. That is not a choice to be made. It is an observation. He's watching people die. Oh, I could be one of those people. I should stop doing this plan of action. Now, that is not to say that, this plan of action was smart in the first place, because there was no plan. It was just get out on these cool looking things and make for a cool shot. I didn't see any of these things fire any weapons. I don't even know what they were trying to do, aside from just be targets to be shot at. Which is, again, a whole problem with The Last Jedi. They set up these pieces for this contrived scenario of the one bomber surviving, even though it should have been knocked out of the sky instantly. Of all these dumb scenarios that are so contrived, so we can have a moment of Poe going, yeah, this is not going to work. There was no plan.
Ryan Johnson slapped a bunch of things he wanted to happen together and forgot to put in logic to string them all together.
Yeah, when you saw the trailers, like, oh, wow, this is a cool looking planet. There's some red sand thing going on. There's all these weird skids thing. Like, ooh, this is neat. And what does it amount to? Nothing. It almost amounted to something, but unfortunately, even that was the second climax of the movie. I can't remember how many climaxes there are. 2 or 3. And where Rose takes away the heroism of Finn. So
Yeah, that'd been a really good ending for Finn if he did sacrifice himself defending everyone instead of having Luke Skywalker come in and die for no reason.
Rey might have actually felt something aside from anger and fear and loneliness. Like, oh my God, my friend died. That friend who's always been with me and cares about me.
You could have had a really good character moment from it. But
For Rey. Rey would have been actually a bit human. Yeah, it would have been amazing.
Can't have her be human, though.
We could relate to her for that brief moment.
Can't have that.
And then she would have like jumped out of the Millennium Falcon and taken on the entire First Order. But yeah, it's maybe in another movie.
All right, make my final approach. Target in sight. Guns are hot.
Now, pull off! What? The cannon is charged! It's a suicide run!
All craft, pull away!
No, I'm almost there!
Retreat, Finn!
That's an order!
So we've seen his arc from the first moment of the movie where he doesn't follow Leia's orders and he leads the bombing run that essentially, while destroying the Dreadnought, practically wipes out the fleet.
Okay. This is where I say my classic line, did you watch the same movie as we did, sir? If he did not do that maneuver, his plan, there would be no one left. They would all be dead. If it wasn't for Poe, the movie would not have continued. This is what I refer to as a plot integral character. And that scene was integral to the plot. Not that there's much to talk about after that scene, because it's just a slow-mo car chase that is very boring. And, of course, it's mostly with Holdo and Poe talking about crap. So it's just like he's interpreting the scene wrong. It's like he won, but he killed a lot of people. It's like, and what's your point? That needed to happen for the story to progress. It could not have it could have happened many other ways, but this is the way it was presented to us. Of all the dumb things that BB-8 did to get Poe's gun working again, like bashing your head into a computer board it's exactly how you repair a computer chip, of course. Yeah, very logical there. To the way that the bombers allowed to get as close as they could, to the way the bombs operate, etc., etc. All these contrived scenarios, just for that scene to work, which is contrived and bad. Regardless, it worked. And if it wasn't for Poe, everyone, and I mean even Poe, would have died. So victory is victory. It's a hollow victory. It's a sad victory. It's a victory with not too many people left alive, but they were left alive. That's the key point there.
And we see him do stupid stuff again and again.
No, he literally does nothing for the entire movie until he gets into that skid thing. He literally sits in his chair, tries to have a mutiny, gets one going, Leia shoots him. He does nothing until he gets to Crate. There's no other conflict for Poe.
That's it. That was the climax of his character moment in the movie.
It's not an arc. There's nothing dramatic about that. There's no choice he makes. He looks out there and says, oh, I guess we should retreat, guys. Let's all retreat. Okay.
He doesn't even change. Like, if there was he could have even argued there could have been at least a small arc if he had changed his personality from that moment.
Yeah.
No matter how forced it was, it doesn't change.
If Leia over the loudspeaker says, Poe, retreat, and he goes, gee, you know what? Leia's right. I should listen to her this time, then you might have an argument. Because then he's listening to orders. If the message of Poe or the lesson he had to learn was to listen to orders, that would have been the time. But it
Doesn't happen, though.
Doesn't happen. He figures that out himself. Okay? No conflict. He's just looking out his window. He's going, oh, everyone's dying. We should stop doing this. It's not going to work. It's like, yes, you're right. Poe is a tactician. He's very good at flying. And he's like, I can't fly this thing. It's breaking apart. People are dying. He can't get the maneuverability he wants out of it. He would have gotten out of an X-Wing, etc., etc. He doesn't have the upper hand. He's not in control. I'm not exactly sure how he was in control with that souped up X-Wing with the juice of the jets, and he's flying really quickly. That was kind of insane. But he's a flyboy. He's really good at his job. Okay, fine. This one, he wasn't. He wasn't in control. He's like, I can't do this. That is a very practical thing to say when you have no a capability of succeeding. So it's that sort of feeling. It's not whatever he just said about some arc or lesson he should have had.
Again. Until in the end, the lessons appear. Now, it would be great if the movie had like a line of dialogue or a character who said something, and that would tie that all. Oh yeah!
The greatest teacher failure is.
Okay, so this is
Wait, was he just talking about Poe? Yoda doesn't talk to Poe.
Yeah, I know.
You can't just have him. If it's going to be an arc, the character at least has to acknowledge it.
Yes, they have to make a conscious revelation of what they have been doing wrong, and to actively correct that mistake. Right?
What are you doing? What you show us Yoda? Yoda was talking to Luke Skywalker. This is part of Luke Skywalker's supposed arc.
Yes.
He doesn't really have one either. And he has much more of an arc than Poe does. But he was talking to Luke Skywalker. He needs to be talking for your argument to make at least even a little bit of sense. Yoda, in that instance, will be having to talk to Poe. He's not.
Now, the thing about this line of dialogue is that if you look at the arc of the story, let's say Luke Skywalker, right? All he does is go on a journey, and every time he faces up against something, he loses until we get to a climax. That's the one choice he makes where he succeeds. Okay? Every story like that, every hero's journey is just a series of failures, if you want to think of it that way. So for Yoda to say this is kind of like saying, hey, I'm Ryan Johnson. I know what stories are. Stories are a series of failures until you succeed, which is the climax. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, thanks, Ryan. We know that. We know what stories are. No shit.
And if for the message to go through, it has to be, we have to know what they're failing at. So if Luke Skywalker was trying to train Rey, and then he's failing and failing and failing, she's not getting it, then Yoda comes in and says, failure is the greatest teacher, and then he comes back and trains Rey and succeeds, then we have a completion of the cycle. But Luke is shown as failing everywhere, and then Yoda says failure is the best teacher, and then Luke just kind of succeeds at something else. There's no central conflict. There's no central goal that he's trying to succeed at, and then becomes frustrated and then gives up on, and then Yoda comes in, guides him back to the starting point, and then he succeeds on. It's just failure, and then he succeeds at something.
And again, this has nothing to do with Poe or Leia or Holdo or whatever.
Nope.
These are totally different storylines, totally unrelated. I don't know why he even brought Yoda up.
Just throw in Yoda for some reason. Poe never meets Yoda or hears from Yoda, but somehow it connects to his arc in some way.
Or the fact that he even has an arc and he's using Yoda.
Well, he doesn't have an arc, but
as inspiration for something.
According to his logic, Poe does have an arc, and Yoda's words that failure is the best teacher is somehow a completion to the arc, even though Poe doesn't hear it and therefore doesn't acknowledge it and does not acknowledge his arc at all.
Well, in relation to what he said before previously about the how the audience has information that the character doesn't. You know how who was that character? Was it James Bond? You didn't know what was going to happen to James Bond, but we already did. In this case, Yoda is telling us a different message. And somehow Poe now has learned this message magically. Like, there's no suspense. There's no, like,
Did
ooh.
Poe read the script?
Yeah, like the only lesson that we understood from Poe is that he has to listen to orders. And then when he's on the skid thing on Crate, no one gave him orders. He was just doing everything else.
He was doing the same exact stuff he was doing in the beginning of the movie.
And now he's saying, "Oh, we're going to die, so let's not do this anymore." It's like, yeah, fine. That's smart. That's a good idea.
Poe didn't change at all. So
yes,
he didn't have
exactly.
an arc.
An arc requires change. A story requires change. You could say the story is the arc, or rather,
That's what
the
arcs are for.
Yeah.
It's for changing a character.
You could say the point of a story is to have a growth of a character. So, this is just. I mean, it's so
This is
smart.
probably one of the worst ones. This is probably one of the worst defenses.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like he's pulling stuff out of his ass, but it's just like he's trying to connect things that don't connect.
See, that's called a thematic through line.
No, it's not a thematic through line. Those are different storylines. Where are you getting this? That's not even what a theme is. If the story has to say the theme is good versus evil, it's a bad story. When Yoda comes on screen and says failure is a great option, it's like, no, Yoda, stop. Like, that's how dumb these people are. We don't know what it means. We need someone to tell us. Get the old wise guy who's dead and he's a Force ghost. He's really smart. Bring him over here. Have him bop Luke on the head with his Force cane that apparently is physical now.
Yeah, as if Luke forgot all those times that he failed and then succeeded. And it's just a really strange thing for Yoda to say in this movie because Rey never fails, and she just learns things. She never gets that awesome teacher that failure is.
She doesn't need a teacher, honestly. She's
just awesome.
Luke's just in the way. Like, Luke wants to teach her how to breathe. She wants to learn how to break a mountain, okay? Just breathe, smack. Like, holy crap.
He gets in the way so much, she beats him up. And that's it.
It's just a mess. Thematic through line. Where are you going, sir?
And that is a sign of good fucking writing.
Good fucking writing.
No, it's not. It's bad writing. Replace the word good with bad and you'll be spot on.
That's something where we're watching Luke's story and we see all this stuff about failure being the best teacher, when actually we're seeing the same thing in Poe's, but we're not seeing it clearly because we're too distracted like Poe. I mean...
the movie's not about Poe, right? It's about Rey. So you're just focusing on Poe.
This is the exact opposite opinion he had of that James Bond flick. Apparently it's good in The Last Jedi, but... It's
good. It's good. The movie I like, but it's not. Doesn't really work in the movie I don't really like.
I don't.
Was he taught argumentation by Vosh?
Yeah. It's just dizzying. It's that dizzying intellect that keeps going around and around in itself.
To take it on a real macro level, the day before this movie started, Poe destroyed Starkiller Base. He thinks he's king shit of Fuck Mountain.
That's because he is.
He is. By his actions, he is. He's so good. The people who tell him he's wrong are wrong because he's really good.
That's the best way to know you're good. Is the people who tell you you're not are actually not good.
We go listen to Leia, who's driving the rebellion into the ground, or Holdo, who's driving the rebellion into the ground.
He even figures out to retreat. Not that it was a hard thing to figure out. when Luke doesn't say anything because he's a moron. Guys, get out of here. Let me take care of this. It's like, oh, thanks, Luke. No, he figures it out himself. That's how awesome Poe is. And that's not an arc. He's using his eyeballs. He's going, oh, what's he doing? Huh. Yeah, let's run away. Okay, good idea. Punish Berserker. Poe's distracted by trying to save people. Yeah, pretty much. He is the leader. He is the de facto leader. He keeps people alive. He knows what it takes to win a war, or at least win a battle. which requires risk and requires sacrifice.
See, he's the one. He's like the one character in the entire Resistance fleet
Yeah,
that knows how to be a leader.
exactly.
And knows what war is. And knows what military strategy is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's so obvious that everyone else. I think all the other people are failures except for Poe. Poe and
Everyone else
Ray.
is a failure. Yeah,
Ray,
especially Finn. Finn fails a lot.
yeah. Well, his entire storyline is a failure, but I think that was the point Rian Johnson wanted. It's a failure and it's nihilistic and it doesn't mean anything and
He wants someone to kick around.
yeah.
Poor Finn.
Poor Finn. Finn and Rose, yeah, they all sucked really bad.
And then Holdo appears and starts dressing him down, and he thinks, well, what the hell? I'm the hero of the galaxy. Why aren't you telling me the plan? I'm owed that. But really, he's not owed anything. But in the end, I'm just screaming into the void here. Because it's not about a movie being objectively bad or bad writing.
Then why did you bring it up? Why did you just
First of
tell
all-
us that bad writing exists?
It is objectively bad. He said, first you said there is no such thing as objectively bad writing. Bad writing is subjective, and then he told us there was such thing as objectively bad writing. So it's either one. We have multiple choice here.
Yeah. I think he's a bit confused on his terminology. I don't think he's wrong. I just think he's like wrong in his own head. I just think he's not paying attention to that other voice in his head saying, I said the exact opposite thing 2 minutes ago. Have you forgotten?
It's about a female character talking down to a male character.
No, it's not.
What?
That's not
Oh,
what the
here we go.
movie's about.
He even has time to drag this whole argument in. Oh, you're just mad because it's a woman. You just hate women. It's not bad writing. You just hate women. He even had time to bring this stupid argument into play. Fantastic.
If this was a transsexual man, it would make no difference to me. If this
You even said earlier, if this were Admiral Akbar, it would still make no sense.
Yeah, this is a very odd a statement for him to make. I don't know why he brought this up, but okay.
It's by the
It's
numbers.
about an Asian American woman being a total badass.
Shit.
With a cattle prod zapping her own people? Being a bad driver to knock a pin out of saving the day? Win. Failing at Canto Bight, which was a horrible segment in and of itself. And the only thing I can associate Rose with is a total failure of Del Toro's character. It wasted that guy.
Rose is a badass?
Win. Tell me Win. Show me some examples when she was a badass. I can't think of one. Not one single instance.
I don't know where he got that from. I thought the
But
theme of the movie was failure.
Yeah, I thought so too. Apparently not. Apparently it changes due to what point he's making.
So the women who fail are actually badasses? Really?
And so it's just not bad writing because you just hate women. It's not bad writing because you're a bigot. Okay, he's bringing this one in too. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is no longer a dizzying intellect. This is just like, okay, you're being disingenuous, sir.
It's about a woman being a Jedi. These complaints are going to keep going.
It's not about a woman being a Jedi.
This guy obviously is not a Star Wars fan because if he were a Star Wars fan, he would know that there have been several female Jedi in the canon, but they're non-canon now thanks to Disney.
I don't
Most of
think
them anyway.
Rey was ever a Jedi in The Last Jedi. She was trying to be.
She can use the Force, and she had a lightsaber.
But why would
wasn't
she
a
need
Jedi.
to be? She's already more powerful than the most powerful Jedi ever. Why would she care? She doesn't need training.
She's just awesome.
She's already there, yeah.
been 2 years and it's still just as strong as it was. And frankly, it's exhausting. I love The Last Jedi. I'll probably watch it at least once a year for
course
next
you do.
year until my last year. But I'm
My last year? Holy crap.
Last year on Earth. Wow.
Dude, you know, my taste will change when I get in my elderly years, I'm sure. But you are now telling us till my last year on Earth, I'll
So
watch
your
that.
last year on Earth, you're going to be watching one of the worst movies ever to film.
Wow,
Some level of hell even Dante didn't think of.
that is some dedication, sir. I'd like to see that in writing, and I'd like a videographic proof every year of you watching that movie. That is like obsessive, you know. I love some really great movies. I don't watch them every year till the
I
day
really
I
like
die.
I really like the Godfather trilogy. I like the Godfather trilogy more than I like the original Star Wars trilogy, and I don't watch that every day or every year. I watch it every once in a while, maybe.
Yeah, it's a very odd statement to make.
It's not that good because it's not good at all. The Last Jedi is a travesty. It is a cinematic sin. It's a horrible, horrible, objectively horrible movie.
Yeah. But hey, if he likes it, more power to him. I just want to see that time lapse of like the next 50 years or so of this man's life.
Watching it every year.
Every year he's just smiling all the time, big smile, and you see the smile just go.
You can like The Last Jedi, but just don't defend it to me that it's good. Okay, you can like bad things. I like bad movies. I like bad books. There's a lot of things I like that are objectively bad. But I like them anyway. I like The Room, but I don't defend The Room and saying that's an actual masterpiece of good, excellent writing. I don't defend Tommy Wiseau's acting. Saying, oh no, he's actually a genius actor. I know he's a bad actor. I know The Room is filled with abysmal writing, but I still find it entertaining. I like it. But I'm not going to defend it that it's good.
Well, we turned 10 minutes into, geez, 2.5 hours.
But this was such a bewildering video because
We're like, what are you talking about, sir?
you just said this was true a second ago, but now it's false. What's going on?
Yeah, very odd, very odd dialogue. Very similar to The Last Jedi. Very odd dialogue. Very odd choices of scenes. Yeah, I can see why he likes it.
Me too. I can look. I can just go by his face, and I know that he likes The Last Jedi.
Just look at pass him on the street. Yeah, you like The Last Jedi.
Yeah. This guy likes The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of trying to persuade idiots to like it, or to defend it, or to
Persuade idiots. Okay, sir.
Idiots now. If you don't like The Last Jedi, you are an idiot, apparently.
Yeah, don't attack people who disagree with you just because they disagree with you. We're not calling you an idiot. We're calling you confused, maybe, and having a dizzying intellect. But we're not like, we don't wish harm upon you. We don't wish you were. We wish you could see things from our perspective because it's very easy to explain why something is bad and why something is thus good. Especially when your definition of the term is contradictory. So, we could definitely sit down with this gentleman and talk to him. I think that would work.
Bad writing exists, but it also doesn't.
Yeah.
have arguments with people who just don't like it for all the reasons I just said. So this is my last word on The Last Jedi. Or my last word on the negativity around The Last Jedi.
Oh, so he's going to talk more about it. As opposed to the title of this video, which is, and that is our final word. So he's going to talk about it again. So he's contradicting his own video. Interesting man, this Sean.
From now on, as always, all I see is the positivity in Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's all good. There's no bad. Nothing's bad.
It's all good. Everything's fantastic. Don't ask any questions. Just get excited for current products and then get excited for next products. Don't ask any questions. Don't turn on your brain.
I guess he really, really enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker. He has nothing bad to say about it. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing bad to say about The Rise of Skywalker, which was better than, I think, The Last Jedi. For several reasons. Maybe not actually plot and characterization reasons, mainly for meta reasons why it was better.
Yeah, if The Last Jedi is a 2, then The Rise of Skywalker is what, like a 3.5?
I give it a 3, maybe 3.5.
Yeah?
It's still pretty bad. It's still really, really bad.
So, on that note, may the Force be with you.
All right, that was...
Pulled out every argument in the book. He even had time... I just find it surprising. He even had time to put in the "you're a bigot, you're a sexist" argument in there at the very end. He squeezed it in the very end, but he still had time to put that in there.
Whew. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sitting with us. It's always fun to watch these, not because we want to laugh at people, but it's just that their logic is really... It's either they contradict themselves, they don't speak from example or evidence, and they constantly reaffirm that such things like objective observations don't exist. I don't know why they do that. It's just they have this need to say, "Oh, no, opinions don't matter except for mine." Okay.
And the one thing he didn't do was trash the original trilogy.
Or use the original trilogy as some sort of like goalpost, like, "Oh, look, Luke did this, so does
Luke did
Rey."
this, but you weren't mad when he did it.
Like
He didn't do that one. He didn't do that one. He did do the bigot and sexist stuff though, but he didn't do that one.
the one where Luke throws his green lightsaber away in the episode 6. It's like, oh yeah, when did Luke do that before? Oh yeah, it's like, oh god.
Yeah, context doesn't matter.
Context, what's that? I have no idea.
Just forget about the context of those two scenes, and then you might have a point.
Symbolism, dialogue, what's that? No idea. We just he throws lightsabers. It makes sense.
I'm really glad he didn't go into themes. Themes and symbolism. At least he didn't do it that much.
That would have been another 5 hours. Well, guys, it's always been fun as we talk about these critics. Thanks for listening. This has been myself and LiteratureDevil. If you have any other recommendations we should watch, we should criticize, be free to put them in the comments below. Message me on Twitter, Facebook, whatever you like. And have yourself a wonderful evening, people.